All right, peace, everybody. I'm just going to give it a minute or two, get some people to come in, and then we're going to go ahead and start. All right. So this is kind of a awkward, well, not awkward time early, but I just figured I had some stuff to go over and build on. So I figure since I had some time off and stuff, that I'd do this video early this evening. All right, so peace and greetings to everybody. Gypsy Goddess, Kasha, Brother Duma. We're giving a minute. We're going to wait for some more people to come in. I see people starting to come in. We're just going to wait a minute or two before we begin. This way I do not have to repeat myself. All right. I'm going to go over some quick announcements in a second. And then we will shortly get into the topic. And formulate your questions. Formulate your, what you want to add to the build. It's important. I'm trying to really encourage participation in the chat. As I said, that's the reason why I stopped using prepared material. I just thought the shit was redundant. It's been going a lot better going back to the old way I used to do it, with people more engaged, more involved. I want you guys to not just sit back and listen, because you don't get nothing. I mean, well, you got to listen to get the information. I get that, but I want to hear you guys' thoughts, you guys' creativity, your questions, your comments, and add to the build. You know what I'm saying? Add to the build, because there's not one way to see these topics that we discuss. It's not one particular way. It's a matter of perception. All right. All right. Real quick before we begin, excuse me. Just a couple quick announcements. So we have established the ritual, what we're going to do, and the date, which I mentioned on the last video. Just a reminder, that will be on Friday evening, July. Wow, I'm skipping 6 months. Geez. That'll be on Friday, January 25th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, here in the South Florida area. And we will be doing the ritual of Apep, the adversary of chaos and darkness. It'll be centered around that. Just to give you a general idea, the ritual will be formulated to intentionally, how the ritual is designed. I'll just give you the basics without giving too much, in the sense of not destroying the personal experience. It is to bring all those things to the surface that you might be ignoring, or that you might think that are past, or that you might think you have put into perception. It is designed intentionally to bring those blockages to the surface. So that's what that ritual, Apep, the adversary of chaos and darkness, will be geared towards on the 25th. And as I said in previous videos, in addition to the collective group work we do at a ritual like that, you will have time to individually go in the chamber and do your own personal work. Everybody is allotted the X amount of time to go in there. And again, when you're doing work, it doesn't have to be long, drawn out. It could be something very brief, quick, and it holds just as much power. All right. So that ritual will be coming up on Friday, January 25th, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. The flyer was formulated today. It should be finished by either today or sometime tomorrow. So I'll get that out in the next day or two, out to people that want to request an invite. Again, ritual is by invite only. That's just to keep things organized and, make sure we have things in order, so we could start on time, know who's coming, and that we've briefly talked with everybody and that we're on the same page. All right. So I'll get that out in a day or two. Again, what I want people to start focusing on, as we're in the last few days of this year, I mentioned in one of the videos I did, I don't think it was yesterday, it might have been the other day, you should be really evaluating your year right now, okay? As far as the goals you set. This is very important. This is kind of how you keep yourself in check when you're doing work. So really now you should be, these next couple of days before going into a new year, And if you notice, a lot of the rituals and the work we're doing here also collectively as a group is geared towards that change, towards, you know, those goals that we've all set for ourselves, those individual goals. And I'm not talking about everybody setting the same goal, because that wouldn't make sense. Everybody needs to set different goals in order to accomplish what they need to accomplish in their life, because everybody got different shit going on. So you should be focusing on evaluating your year. What did you accomplish? You know, what can you put on that list and say, I successfully accomplished, I knocked it out? And then really put down on that list what you maybe didn't succeed at, what you failed at, excuse me, or what you might need more work and energy and growth moving into the new year, in addition to some new goals. Now, again, I've always suggested this, you know, do what you want, but I've always suggested set them short-term goals, which leads to those bigger long-term goals. Because when you set the long goals too far out ahead, you get kind of discouraged, or you get, you know, lack of motivation because it's not happening right away. When you're setting those smaller goals, which are steps to your bigger goals, you stay motivated, you stay focused, you stay on the path, and things start to happen at a rapid pace. So start looking at what you're getting ready to accomplish going into 2019. All right. And evaluate what what your ups and downs for this year. All right. As I said before, in addition, I know this time of the year for the last few years, I get a lot of clients that like to use consultations and readings for a yearly forecast. And basically what a yearly forecast reading is kind of to give you an idea of what you can expect based on your energy, your spirituality, your ancestors, what you can expect moving into the 2019 year, and maybe assist you in areas where you need to focus on. And sometimes in those forecast readings, things come up, you might have one thing in your mind, but another thing comes up completely, entirely different. So I know this time of the year, a lot of people will utilize a reading for that. So if you're interested in that or a spiritual consultation, again, feel free to hit me up at the email in the description box in all the videos. That's why I put it there, so nobody has to ask what's the email. It's khnum19@gmail.com. If you are also interested in the online classes, not the current one, we only got 2 sessions left in that, which will be next Saturday and the following Saturday. Then the next online class session will begin at the end of March. I am just about now done with the curriculum, but as I said, I will get that information to people. I know a few of you have already emailed me about March. There's about 6 or 7 of you, and I'll get that information out to you when it's completely finished. And I know there's some already in the current session that are going to take that session too, and I'll obviously send you that email. And for those that are, just a reminder, remember we reconvene next Saturday. I know we took a 2-week break for the holidays before we finished out this session. So if you're in the current session and you're in here now, or you might watch this video later after it posts. So just a reminder, next Saturday, 3 o'clock, and the following Saturday at 3 o'clock, we'll finish our final 2 sessions. All right. And remember, the online classes, the purpose of that is personalized work we do as a group. It's more personalized in a private setting. We deal with specific techniques. It's not just like a free-for-all session like this. We have a curriculum that we're focused on accomplishing goals. Those that have taken the classes know what I'm talking about. Those that haven't and are interested yet, you will soon find out. All right. So again, if you're interested in that, you can email me. Same email. I know some of you have also emailed me about the altar supplies. I know some sent about chalices. I sent you that information. Some ordered a few. The chalices that are available can be Egyptian deity chalices. We have Baphomet chalices with pentagram. You send me an email, as I said, how we're doing that with the connection that I have with the person here. Possibly an Amazon store soon. But you just send me an email what you're looking for. It could be daggers, or what some call themes. It could be altar tiles. It could be chalices. If you're looking for statues, different archetypes and different spiritual systems, anything for your altar, incense, anything for ritual supplies, just let me know what you're looking for, and I can tell you what's available. So you can hit me up in the same email for that. All right. I think that pretty much covers the basic announcements. And then real quick before I start, I know some people had emailed me about the video that I posted yesterday. And let me make it clear. I was trying to, I want everybody to understand. Those orders, the Rosicrucian order, Freemasonic order, OTO, in my opinion, in my experience, I want to make it clear, those to me are just the beginning stages or doorways to the deeper meaning of the occult and the left-hand path. You're going to find a lot of people. Well, I'm talking about a lot. I run into a lot. And even in my current lodge now, there's people that practice left-hand path, but they're very private about it. You'll find a lot of people dabbled at some point in that path. It was one of the beginning stages or doorway. Now, the reason why I address that, because you got a lot of these conscious coons out here that talk about it as if they've been through it. That was the point. The point was to address that. I want to make it clear because I don't want people to go run on a haywire and, you know, then people start getting in this, I need to get initiated mode. That's not the reason why I did the video. I did the video to expose people that are full of shit, that are fraudulent, that say they're, you know, they've done this or they've been initiated in that, and then they do videos on it or they do lectures on it, or they, you know, put false information on social media platforms and never set foot in the lodge. I was addressing it for that factor because I run into these clowns and I deal with these people all the time. Usually I'm low key about it. I don't say nothing because I don't really feel the need that I got to go around and announce what it is I do and do not know. To me, that's fucking pathetic and really moronic and egotistical, not in a good way. But I'm just basically tired of the shit, and I'm tired of people faking the funk, talking shit. You know, we're not going to let people do what I like to call the Dr. York, right? If you know what Dr. York basically did, he just laid claim to titles, put on the motherfucking costume, and said he was guru this, master that, and he was none of those things. He just laid claim to the fucking title without putting in any work, any effort, any energy. So I think it's disrespectful because there's some people out there that are on those paths, even though we're on a higher path, but people take that shit seriously. And some people will do you bodily harm. I'm going to be straight up, especially those fanatical Masons and some of them private occultists. It's their livelihood. So you start playing around talking shit like you're on a certain degree and you don't know passwords and you get stepped to, you can catch a beat down. That happens. I've seen it. I've watched people fake their funk. So you got to be careful. You don't know who's watching. You don't know who knows what, but you could get approached and be called out on that. So I'm gonna be straight to the point with it. And for that reason, regardless whether you agree with it or not, have a certain level of respect, just like you would want people to have a certain level of respect for what you do, whether they agree with it or not. And so again, I want to make it clear the video wasn't put out to encourage people as it was something mandatory to join those orders. Because I know sometimes I'll do a video like that, people get on this motivational kick. Should I go to a lot? If you feel the need to do that and it's something you want to experience, then do it. That's the answer to that question. It's that simple. But don't just do it to do it. You know what I mean? There's got to be a reason behind doing it. So that's why I put that out there. I'm not going to let people pull the Dr. York on people. Just lay claim to some shit and ain't never set foot in there or don't got the credentials to back it up. So the message was real simple in that video. When somebody starts saying they're this and they're that, or they went through this and then that, ask them for their motherfucking credentials. That's it. It puts that all to bed. And if they give you a buck dance and they don't, and they see, why, be careful of the diversion tactic, because this is what some of them will do. They'll switch to another subject and go on a rant to distract you from your original question. That's called the straw man tactic. Anybody that has debated or built with people know what the straw man tactic is. When somebody is posed with a question they don't want to answer, they divert to a completely different topic. That's a tactic. Don't let people do that. If somebody says I'm initiated in OTO or IFA, have them prove their credentials before you even start trusting in them or accepting anything they say in relation to those topics is what I'm talking about. Because you're going to find out 9 out of 10 of them ain't going to do it. And that's the only reason why I did what I did yesterday, to show you that I've been doing this before I've been on this YouTube shit. All right. It goes back way before that. When I'm talking about those things, you've heard me say it over the many years in videos and other places. When I'm talking about it, I'm talking about it from experience. I ain't talking about it because I've read a few books and I want to lay claim to the title and put on the costume. And nah, fuck that. That's not how it works. I went through that stuff purposely for that reason. It's real simple. Fact check a motherfucker for their credentials. If they say, yeah, I was initiated in Pau Ifa, it's real simple. A person can explain themselves without having to get into depth. When were you initiated? What date? Who's your godparents? You know, how far did you go in the initiation? Because there's different levels of that. Same thing if it's Masonry, Rosicrucian Order, OTO. Where were you raised? Where were you initiated? What lodge did you go through? Et cetera, et cetera. If they can't give you the basic shit, then they got an agenda. They're hiding something. It's that fucking simple. That's it. Because how I fuck with these motherfuckers, I ask them for pass keys on the Rosicrucian degrees. What degree you want? What's the pass key? You don't know. You full of shit. So that was the purpose of that. Fact check these motherfuckers that laying claim to being masters of all this shit. That's all I'm saying. And I ain't laying claim to know everything and be a master of everything. That's not what I'm saying. I am laying claim to not dealing with the bullshit no more. All right. But anyway, that's what that was for. So I wanted to clarify that. So what I wanted to get into, because it's kind of a continued build with what we would, well, it's a little bit different, but to stay in that energy, since I kind of, as you know, as I do videos, I kind of roll with the flow of the energy. If we're doing something and we're working with something, to me, that's the communication and the message that we should stay with that energy for the time being. As you know, that's constantly changing. So I wanted to talk about Egyptian and Luciferian magic. Egyptian magic and Luciferianism, whatever you want to call it. Because in essence, what we got to start focusing on is not the actual practice of the spirituality. And what do I mean by that? Because if you are a god or a goddess or a master, okay, if you take on that role and want to take on that responsibility, you have to be able to adjust any spiritual system to the work you're doing. As I said, with Luciferianism, you don't have to lay claim. See, some people sometimes don't dabble in certain paths because they sometimes think they got to be exclusive to that path to get out of it what they need to get out of it. That's not true. You can adjust whatever you want. You don't need to be exclusively Ifa, or you don't need to be exclusively a vampire. You don't need to be exclusively a Luciferian, whatever it is. You got to remember, you're the one that manipulates those systems as a god or a goddess. They don't manipulate you. So sometimes I think people get more controlled by the spiritual system as opposed to mastering it, because you can really become a master of these elements when you can take from all of those systems and start creating your own shit. I want to focus on the reason why you'll find Egyptian left-hand path magic, the Egyptian mysteries, the Egyptian concepts in their self are very Luciferian in nature. So what you have to focus on, for an example, when you're doing, let's say, Egyptian left-hand path magic, because it's Luciferian in it, we need to focus on the concept more so of what Luciferian represents when we're applying it to this practice. Because Egyptian left-hand path magic is very Luciferian in nature. One, because of the very concept that it represents, right? Self-deification, right? Let's talk about that real quick. In previous videos, when you get some time to go back and look at 11 points of power, what it means to be Luciferianism, I went over them in detail in videos from a month or so ago, whenever it was. You got to be able to focus on the concept and what it represents when you're applying it to your magic and your work, all right? So self-deification, when you go all back through the Egyptian mysteries, whether it's coming forth by day, it's always a personal journey that the adept has taken, be it male or female. Just when you're reading the coming forth by day, for an example, you see all the different spells and invocations and utterances. If you have a good copy of it, you'll see there's blank spots. That's where you're supposed to insert your name, right? If you're using some of those spells and incantations. But it's always centered around the individual's personal journey. The trials and tribulations, they go through the journey, whether you're dealing with a pep, right? A pep who represents that adversarial chaos and darkness. As we talked about with Leviathan last week, whenever that was, last week or last Wednesday, there is a connection to that, right? Within the adept, the connection of the prime chaos. Went over the 6 sections in the Bible where it mentions Leviathan, and even the biblical scholars. And why I used the Bible, because for newer people watching the video, and you may not be too familiar with this path, it's very important that we know how to correctly teach and educate people, because you can't assume that where you're at, most of us are on a more advanced path. So you can't, if you're trying to really build, again, we're not trying to save nobody, but it is your job to educate. So there will be many times where you're presented to teach and educate. So if you get maybe a sincere Christian that's maybe looking in other areas, and they want to sincerely ask you a question. You got to be able to come to their level and explain that shit to them the right way so they can connect. If you want to be Mr. or Mrs. Badass and you're just going to smash them and this and that, then that's your stupidity. That's not really how you're supposed to approach it. You should approach it with putting information out there, and that whatever they do with it, that's on them. So I went through those 6 sections in the Bible that mentions Leviathan. I went over every quote, every book, every verse, so we can first eliminate the mythology behind it. And even the biblical scholars have agreed that it's symbolic, Leviathan, whereas some religious people take it as a literal monster of the sea. It represents the reason why I tied it into a monster or a sea dragon of the deep depths of the sea or the abyss. It's symbolic also of our subconscious mind, how deep the layers of our subconscious go, how far really that triggers the effect of tapping into your subjective. It's limited. There's good aspects because in that subjective or that subconscious, you have created universes, you have created worlds, you have created multiple existences. When you tap into those subjective realms, whether it's via the dream state, rituals, meditations, or visualizations, you as the God or that Luciferian concept taking on self-deification, you are creating what we call the many multiverses that exist within your subjective realm, right? This is what the Egyptian mysteries were centered around. This is what it meant when an individual raised themselves up to becoming a god or a goddess, because they understood what it meant when you tapped into a level of immortality. What does that mean? Going beyond 3-dimensional existence, person, place, and thing. Thinking outside of that, vibrating on a different frequency outside of that, whether that's done intentionally via traveling the spiritual or the astral realm by raising your vibration and frequency, making yourself less dense. I talked about all that last week. This is the work that you need to do to have your experiences, right? The only way you're going to have your experiences is being able to tap in on that level, to be able to tap into that frequency and that vibration via meditations, spiritual experiences in your dreams. This is where the communications come. And this is why I've been saying for years why you don't need any of those traditional initiation systems, because they're basically just going to charge you thousands of dollars to do some shit that you can do on your own. You're not really getting any secret. Now, I know to some that may not be comforting. You might say, well, Brother Beniti, it's easy for you to say that because you went through it. True, and I must agree with you to a certain extent, but I'm also trying to save you the headache and the financial woe of being manipulated and ripped off. And again, I'm not saying everybody that practices whether it's voodoo, Ifa, Santeria, black magical systems, I'm not saying that everybody's a fraud. I'm not saying that, because there are some good, genuine people out there. So I want to make that clear. But unfortunately nowadays, because it's become so fucking trendy, unfortunately nowadays it's become a big money pit, and you have to be careful. So what I'm trying to do is show you, I get emails. I just got an email from somebody from Tampa about getting initiated into the Holy Depth. And I'm saying what I do is I show you how to do that for yourself. You shouldn't really be interested or concerned with letting somebody else do it for you, because one, all right, it's nice if you want to do the traditional thing, but you're going to find out it's a great experience at first, but then you become a servant and a slave to it. Literally, there's this constant attending to it all the time. You have to do this. You must do that, especially if you belong up under an elder or you're in a certain spiritual house or you're in, etc. Trust me when I tell you, it's a commitment. And sometimes you don't find out through maybe being a quarter or halfway through the commitment, like, yo, this is not something I really wanted to do. This is taking too much of my motherfucking time. I feel like this is too religious. I feel like I'm serving something. That's how I started to feel. And trust me, if you're already on this path, and I was feeling like that before I was on this path, if you're already on this path, to me, you'd be taking a step backwards. You understand? Now, the only reason why I maintain, as I was saying in the video yesterday, my affiliation with the lodge, I still keep a connected relationship with my godmother, not because I'm there and I participate regularly. I don't do that. I might show up once in a while to the Rosicrucian Lodge or to any of these places. I just keep my membership current because it has other avenues of benefits. That's it. And I have the respect for my godmother, regardless if I'm not practicing that on the level I did years ago. I still have respect for her because she was part of my growth on my path. So I have to keep that respect. You understand? I have to keep that respect there, and that's it. So I just want to make that clear so people have that understanding. But This path, Egyptian and Luciferian magic, it deals with that the Luciferian concept of self-deification. And I was mentioning this is why this time of the year, and that's why the upcoming ritual on the 25th will be centered around a PEP, the adversary of darkness and chaos, because a PEP will bring those things to the surface you need to address. So the ritual is designed collectively and individually for you to address and deal with that. It will come up. And I can tell you this all the time, just like in the last ritual, it's a very common sound to hear people, you know, laughing and crying simultaneous in the ritual. And the last ritual brought a lot of that, and not the first time, and it won't be the last time, because you need to really get in tune with those quote unquote primal energies, or what we like to say basically on the surface, raw emotions. Raw emotions can be good when you tap into them, but you're able to facilitate and utilize them accordingly. Not just be reactive, not just completely react out of raw emotion from what you're feeling, but knowing how to discipline yourself and channel that emotion and energy. That's how you can fuel your magic. That's how you get the desired results you're looking for. Because sometimes your energy is focused in other areas and it's blocking what you're trying to accomplish. And you're not conscious of it because you're so focused. The focal point with there's so many influx of thoughts running to your head that the mind is not empty and clear where it can focus on the task at hand. This becomes a huge problem for a lot of individuals. Well, Egyptian left-hand path practices, especially performative utterances, invocations, working with sigils, sanctifying your sacred space if you're casting, let's say, the Hermetic circle. All of these things are to create a certain mind state. They're not just physical things done just for the purpose of psychodramas for yourself or in a collective group setting. They're done to create a certain energy within the mind. And if done correctly, it's only something I can only explain in X amount of words, but it's something you need to really experience for yourself, right? So there's different aspects that you address when you work with these spiritual systems. And Luciferianism being the concept behind it. And that's why I'm trying to connect the two and show you it's very Luciferian in nature. When you connect with let's talk real quickly about the deific mask and the agathodemon, or as what we know or our personal demon in demonic integration. Demonic integration or working with your agathodemon. This is where some people get lost. Because see, there's some shit going on the internet, and I mentioned it last week. Whatever the fuck that was, Wednesday, this week. I keep saying last week, but you know what I'm talking about. I see something going on, and it's like, to me, a ball of shit getting ready to collide. And let me explain. Somebody had brought up the video that that brother Young Pharaoh did going off on Bobby Hemmett. I spoke my piece on that. Like I said, the brother has the right to criticize and scrutinize the information, but he probably was disrespectful the way he did it. I think regardless whether you agree with some of these elder scholars, again, let's keep that fine line of respect. You can agree to disagree respectfully. So I didn't have a problem with him addressing the information because I don't agree with everything Bobby Hemmett taught, especially when you're saying Aloas was a black man and he's coming back on a spaceship for black people. That's a video you can pull up. You understand? That's a video that you can pull up. I didn't agree with that because, number one, Aloas was a manifestation of Crowley's subjective realm. That was Crowley's personal daemon, or what some would call his holy guardian angel, as he called it. So I didn't understand where the concept was coming from, how you went into the book of the law and you grasped that out of it. So when you really look at it, how did you kind of come up with that? But that's not the point. The point is anybody can agree to disagree on anything, but I think there should be a fine line of respect. But what I'm seeing happening now, it seems like a lot of this occult information. Yeah, Bobby Hammett's been around a while talking about it to a certain extent, but I'm now starting to see in the mainstream today, modern stream Hotepper community, they're starting to slowly dabble in it because, as you've probably seen in the last year or so, you see now Brother Panic speaking at some of these events, right? And again, you know, I know Panic personally. You know, we've had him on the show. Again, love a lot of stuff he teaches. I don't agree with everything, but, you know, respect him. He does what he does. We all do what we do. But I think he's going to find himself in a precarious situation because I'm interested to see how the Hoteppers are going to mesh that into the fluffy shit. because I'm bringing that up because of the last 4 or 5 videos that this brother Young Pharaoh did attacking Baphomet and the occult and really being disrespectful to Bobby Hemmett, saying he's full of shit and he's not going to allow him to teach anything about Baphomet to black children. So, he's still stuck on this black shit, this black and white shit. And as I said, in the last video, if you really understood the concept, see, this is where people get, see, this brother's on the stage. Where's that in the book? Show me that. Which source is that? When you're on all that, I need a motherfucking book and some source to verify it. I don't think people understand the difference between a concept. And that's why I'm talking about Luciferianism. Because if you say, how do I trace the origin back of Luciferianism? My question would be, are we talking about the actual word that's used to describe the practice, or are we talking about the concept of it as a whole? Because if when I'm talking about it, I'm not caught up in the literal word. So when you're caught up of the word Baphomet and how that image was constructed, if you think, as he was wrongly saying in that video, that started during the time of the Knights, he was referring to a Bobby Hemmett video where he said that was referring to the Black Knights of Templar at a specific time period. So he's like, well, where's that prior to that? See, that's where you get yourself caught in this back and forth fuckery. I wouldn't even waste my time and energy with an argument like that. Let's talk about the practice of Luciferian has no time frame. A lot of these are just terms we use to describe a practice or a concept. Even when you say Hermeticism, right? When you say that Baphomet symbol goes back to alchemy and Hermetics, Hermetics is a Greek word. It's just a Greek word or term they used in the system of Hermetic philosophy. But the concept of itself can be found in pre-dynastic times. Just like the pentagram, most people think is a modern symbol. And I've said in many videos over the last several years, you can find that prior to the 22nd dynasty. The cult of Set used it. They use it as a seal on jars and symbols and scrolls and contracts. It was something that was used as a seal. And what do you know? Why do we use it when we're drawing the sigil? Whether some people, if you're banishing, you're going right to left or clockwise. When you're invoking, you're going the other way. It's a form of a seal. It's a symbol that took on different meanings. This is prior to all that pentagram of Solomon and Solomon. That shit all came later down the road. So I think what people get fucked up is their concepts are all twisted. Not their concepts, their historical data. Because if we play this back and forth shit, like, where to get that from prior to that? I'm not focused, because we could hear, no, let's keep it 100%. When people are quoting days and times, they're full of shit. You wasn't living 300, 400, 500, 600,000, so you really don't fucking know. You read that somewhere in a damn book. So when somebody say, what source did that come from? My first question is, well, first tell me your source, and then I'll tell you where it came from. You read it in some book somewhere. You read, just like we all have. But see, on this path, we're more focused with the practice of it, the concept as a whole, and how we can apply it to ourselves. I'm not worried about getting into some back and forth historical debate. Where exactly did it come from? Was the Metu Neter translated? Who gives a flying fuck? Because in 2018, it ain't going to do a damn fucking thing for me. It ain't going to put no money in my pocket. It ain't going to better my life. It's not going to address life problems that I need to fix about myself. It's not going to make me get to that level of being the master god or goddess that I'm trying to obtain. It's just a back and forth fuckery. So I'm interested to see now, as I'm slowly starting to see in the last year or two, even with pink pill and whatever the fuck, red pill, blue pill, pink pill, purple pill, I can't remember. There's all different color pills and shit. Even I see them starting to flash a lot of this occult stuff, right? I'm seeing them flashing pentagrams. I want to see, because we were criticized, and I say we, myself, and people like us that are in this room that consider themselves on this path, we have been ostracized for many years, told we're crazy, that we're following a European system, and that all this stuff, Luciferianism, the pentagram and Baphomet, that's all European shit. And I know I've been saying for years, no, it ain't, because I could trace this back to the pre-dynastic Egyptians. I could go even further if I want. I could trace it back to many ancient prehistoric African cultures when you deal with the Kandoki and African black magic and witchcraft. We've been saying that this has been our power from day fucking one, not reading some text and debating over history, right? I've been talking about Heka for years. Nobody talks about real black magic, Egyptian Heka. That's the power of ancient Egypt. Not putting on some big motherfucking Ankh and some dashiki and saying hotep and reading some text and arguing if the Metu Neter was translated or not. That's not going to do shit for you. Yeah, it's going to give you a lot of historical and have a lot of shit running through your brain. But can you take that stuff and apply it in real time? 99.9% of the people would have to say no, because they're not taught that. That's why. They're taught to debate, we're the ancient Egyptians and religion has got us under a spell. How many more fucking years are we going to be talking about this shit? When do we stop talking about it and be motherfucking about it? That's all I'm saying. I just want to know, when does that come in? Because that shit all sound like Charlie Brown to me, especially somebody like me, and I'm sure many of you. That shit sound like wah, 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 wah. And then you got these idiots on the internet, right? Because they're looking for views and shit. Like even that brother Young Pharaoh. Why are you giving this dude Nature Boy a platform? As crazy as the motherfucker is, and I say crazy because he's batshit crazy. We're not talking about being chaotic for a good purpose. The dude got some fucking issues. Why are you giving platforms to these pedophiles, these womanizers, these individuals that are spreading STDs, and you're giving these motherfuckers platforms, right? And then I noticed the subliminal. You can't fool me. I noticed, because I'm a watcher, okay? And you know who the watchers are. I'm gonna leave that there. I noticed that this nigga got caught up in his own sensationalism. He started filming videos, Young Pharaoh, without his shirt on. What the fuck is that about? Now, something crept in there to me subconsciously. I remember you doing a lot of videos without your shirt on. So is something rubbing off? Are you being affected by that energy? Anyway, you get my point. I'm not trying to get into that too much. I want to stick, again, back to what I was talking about before I get sidetracked. I want to see how this meshes mainstream, because all of us here probably at some point were either ostracized about being on this path by family, friends, spouses. I'm sure we all have some experience we could share. But it's now funny because it becomes, here's the problem with the conscious community. When it becomes trendy and it becomes hip, now all of a sudden it's acceptable to wear a pentagram. You understand? Because if it's on Sa Neter's platform, if it's at a major conscious community event, oh, it must be legit. Well, I can probably point out by face some of the people that are accepting it now were ostracizing it not too long ago. So what does that tell you? That tells you you got a lot of followers. You got a lot of people that can't think for themselves. And when we were saying this whole time, fuck what y'all think. I'm going to do what I want to do. We know what we're doing here. We know what this path represents. You motherfuckers are talking about being gods and goddesses, and we're becoming gods and goddesses. That's the difference. Why? Because we spend our time, energy, and effort applying the work on a daily basis. You motherfuckers spend all your time talking about the shit on a regular basis and having debates, structured debates. And let's talk about what dynasty came before this time. Who gives a shit? I really couldn't care what dynasty came before what dynasty, what's the right name or title, blah, 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 blah. It's all bullshit. It's all jibber jabber. What I do want to know is how I can manifest that financial prosperity. Show me how to do that, motherfucker. I do want to know how I can heal myself when I got some illnesses that I can get under control. That's what I want to know. Show me that shit. Don't sit here and tell me you're a herbologist and you're sick as fuck, coughing all the time, and you live in your mother's basement, but you want to show me how I can become prosperous. You need to be a living example of the information you fucking teach. I keep saying that for years. If you ain't an example of that on the outside, then I know you all fucked up on the inside. I don't even need to know what's going on in here and in here. It's got to be all jacked the fuck up, because if it doesn't manifest on the outside, I can't take anything you say legit. And this is why we have to be careful. Even I see in certain circles with vampirism, it becomes very gimmicky. And as you know, as I try to teach vampirism, when I went over the Ascetian Bible, when was that, a month or so ago, I like the way that concept is presented, because it ties it into the ancient Egyptian practices. Vampirism can become very gimmicky. I'm starting to see that can become a fad and trendy, because people get caught up in the stuff that's associated with it, the sex magic. Because sometimes the vampirism, sad to say in certain circles, everything is sexual energy, sex this and sex that. Of course, there's a lot of sexual energy tapped into it, but it deals with a lot of the higher sciences. evolving your higher intuition, your telepathy, your clairvoyance, your intuition. It deals with healing. It deals with past life aggressions, past being accessing to those past lives. It deals with disciplining yourself to travel the spiritual and the astral realm. Sometimes we need to focus on those spiritual aspects, but everything is vast. It's so dark and gloomy, and it's sexual energy, this and blah, blah, blah. That's starting to become gimmicky. And we got to make sure it don't get that way, because when all these motherfuckers start coming aboard now and presenting it like that, because it, like I say, I'm curious to see if it becomes trendy or fatty. Because I personally believe if some motherfucker came out on one of them conscious channels and said, you know what? At one point in our existence, we all wore straw skirts. Like in the islands, niggas would be walking around wearing straw skirts. Let's keep it real. Because they're followers. That's the whole point. One thing we all on this path have never done, we've never conformed. You can't conform into this path because that goes back into a Luciferian principle. The isolated consciousness of Set represents that isolation from that conformity. Not doing what everybody else is doing. Not following what everybody else is doing. Because we, from a Luciferian mindset, say to ourselves, if it doesn't fit what I'm doing, then it's not for me. I don't care if Tom, Dick, Harry, Joe, Betty, Bob, Sue, Mary, and whoever the fuck is doing it. Just because they're doing it don't mean I got to do it and it's for me. We've taken that stance from day one. So Luciferianism in connection with the Egyptian left-hand path is about self-deification. So focus on the concept. Again, I've said this a bunch of times. You do not need to come out and make this declaration. I'm a full-fledged Luciferian to practice Luciferianism. Absolutely not. I don't know how many times I got to, stress that. So when people try to trap you with these nonsensical debates, because a lot of the people that deal with book consciousness, where'd you get that from? What source is that? And here's what I always present. I'll say this time of the year, because Kwanzaa just started, right? Power to my Kwanzaa people. Let me stop fucking around, right? If you know the history of Kwanzaa, right? Kwanzaa is now accepted in a lot of conscious circles for many years now as a mainstream kind of conscious celebration of what it represents, correct? We all know that. Dr. Ron Karengi, who actually founded the holiday and created, who I actually personally have met a couple of times here in Florida. I actually met him also one time in Macon, Georgia at a seminar/conference, and I was set up there as a vendor, and I had the chance to talk to him. This was back in 1999. We all know the history of Kwanzaa. Dr. Ron Karengi out of Berkeley University founded Kwanzaa. It's now been established as a traditional holiday in the conscious community, in these Pan-African and African circles. And I got no problem with that. That's cool. But I'm sure Ron Karengi got a lot of flack at first when he created. Like, who the fuck are you? Where are you getting this from? Though he has based it on key African principles in Pan-Africanism, but just like anything else, it started somewhere. It's not always about, where'd you get that? What book did you get that in? When do you become a god or a goddess and create something new for yourself or for your immediate circle? That's all. So we got to get out of that mindset, like, because look, I've addressed in the videos in the past this whole thing that people call being pseudo or pseudoism, right? Now, I only apply pseudoism when we're talking historical data and scientific data, all right? When you're dealing with these higher sciences of spirituality, a lot of things can appear pseudo on the surface, because when you're a person that just has to correlate it to some book or some source, then you're not going to grasp the full concept of it. Because not everything is found in a book. Not everything can be traced, especially the higher spiritual sciences and these higher spiritual mysteries. You can't find it all in a book. That's the problem with these book motherfuckers. Where's that? Where'd you get that? Who said that? What teacher said that? Well, and I did a video a long time ago called, when does the student stop being the student and become the teacher? At what point does that happen? The problem is, in a lot of them circles, all those people want to stay followers. They want to stay students. Our objective isn't to stay a student on this path forever. We always want to be a student in the sense that we're always open to learn. So the student mentality never ceases. You should always have that student mentality, and as far as your eagerness for knowledge and information, no doubt. But you should always want to get to the point where I don't need to hold nobody's motherfucking hand no more. I can do this myself. It don't mean you can't confide in others, get advice from elders, friends, family, relatives, or just people on the path. That's not what I'm saying. But my whole thing is, you should be able to get yourself to the point where you trust in yourself. Because if you can't trust in yourself, then you're open and gullible to fall for pretty much anything. And this is why when certain individuals see that in an individual, maybe somebody that sees somebody comes to them on some initiatic path, they see that they're ripe for the pickings and they see dollar signs. They don't see the sincerity of helping people. They don't see the sincerity of really reaching out. Now I get it. Some people do that for a living, and I understand. Money is time. I have no problem with people charging people for personal services as long as it's within reason. There's no problem with that. And if you disagree with that, that's personal. Then you just don't fuck with the person that does that. And I've been open from day one. Anybody that does consultation or spiritual work with me, I only charge for the necessity stuff. You wind up doing the stuff yourself, but my time, my energy, and taking me away from my other areas of making money, I need to be compensated for that. You never heard me on a video, going back to my first videos, that I don't charge for that stuff. I said from day one. You have other motherfuckers that front and say, oh, I don't believe him. I ain't going to say no names, but they've been on video saying, I don't charge to do anything. No, I don't believe. They've even gone on video and said, I don't believe in charging. I think it's wrong. I got motherfuckers on video saying that. Trust me. But now they turn around later and they say, I need to start charging for my time. I find that very funny. So that shows me they had an agenda since day one. And the agenda was fronting like they didn't want to charge you in the beginning, and then later coming with the okie doke, coming with the right hook while you ain't looking. I don't believe in that shit. And I say believe because I think it's bullshit. Okay. I've said from day one, anybody that's worked with me over the years, and I know some of you in the room right now, you know how I operate, and I'm straight to the point fair. Ain't no bullshitting. You know what you're doing. You know why you're doing it, and you know whatever it costs and what it charges. And it's very minimal at best. I don't have no outlandish shit where you need to do this and that. And that's the problem with those initiatic systems. They're going to tell you need to do all this shit, all these rituals, you need to get this and that. And thousands of dollars later, you're fucked. And by then it's too late because you're knee deep in shit. And sometimes you're drowned in that shit. But anyway, I think you guys get the point, right? So we have to focus on the concept of what Luciferianism represents and how we apply it to our magic. It's all centered around the aspect of self-deification. It all centers around being on the path to self-mastery and you creating that path. That's a concept that goes back time immemorial. So if you're going to sit there and go, where's that in the book? So the word Lucifer, now if we're talking about the historical origin of the word Luciferianism, then yes, we can trace that back just a couple hundred years. And when we go into the etymology of the language, the origin of the word and what it means, etc. So what I'm saying is we got to be able to formulate our questions and what we're presenting is what I'm saying. It's two different things. Because are you going to find in some ancient text, the funerary text or the pyramid text in ancient Egypt, the word Luciferianism? Absolutely not. That's a stupid even thing to even ask. Are you going to find the word Baphomet in there? Absolutely not. But what the concept of Baphomet represents is practiced in many cultures. See, we on this path look at it for what the symbol represents. If you're caught up in the ideology that the Templars and the Masons in secret, they have a secret chamber where they worship Baphomet, who is Satan and Lucifer, you're fucking spooked out. You are completely spooked out. I can't even tell you how spooked out you are. Any true person on the left-hand path doesn't look at Baphomet as a physical deity. So anybody saying that is somebody with a still religious mindset. I don't care what they say they are. I don't care what they claim to study. I don't care how Kemetic they claim to be. If you think that a true occultist on the left-hand path looks at Baphomet as a literal physical deity to worship, then you don't understand this path. All right? Because Baphomet to an occultist, a left-hand path practitioner, how many times we got to go over this? But we'll run through it again. Not so much for the people in here, but maybe for people that might stumble across this video later. Baphomet, you see the face of a male goat representing the masculine energy. We'll go through it slow. We'll do kindergarten level. You see the breasts of the female on Baphomet representing the feminine energy. All right? We got that. You see all four elements encoded in the Baphomet symbol. All right? You see him perched on the earth. You see in his belly the scales of the sea, representing the water element. You see right by the pineal gland, the kundalini, right? Rising, you see the pineal activated, representing the flame. You see as above, so below. He's in that symbol. I told y'all, go do the research of the pictures in Middle Eastern churches and a lot of Coptic churches. You see the image of Jesus, their Jesus, sitting I posted this up. I'm putting it on videos. You see this image of Jesus perched and sitting on the earth in the same Baphomet position, one hand down, as above, so below. The Christians took that from the Baphomet symbol and put it in their churches, okay? That's a whole nother story. We'll get to that, back to that in a minute. So you see the four elements all represented. You see masculine and feminine energy. You see the four elements. You see representations of equilibrium, totality, harmony. This is why it's an androgynous figure. We also know that a goat likes to go high up on the mountain so it can look down and see and control all its subjects. That represents you as the master adept, always being in control. This is why Baphomet is one of the most used occult symbols ritualistically and personally. This is why you will see it in many of the rituals we do, and I'm sure many of you use it privately. This is what Baphomet, the real esoteric meaning of Baphomet, represents. Not the exoteric shit that people promote. It's Satan and the devil, and it's the beast, and the Templars, they used to bring him up from this chamber in medieval times, and they secretly. Okay, you want to say that? Show me in some, just like motherfuckers want a book and a fact. Show me what book facts other than hearsay and some book that somebody wrote based on conjecture and what they thought. Where can I find historical facts about that in detail? Not in a book just somebody wrote. Show me on some temporal manuscript where it says that they did that. You can't. Trust me when I tell you, you can't. So we need to remove all that spooky shit. Needs to go out the door, because I'm saying that, and I'm going to speak for myself, and I'm sure I speak for a lot of you. When I'm teaching it on this path, I'm not teaching it from that concept. I want to make that clear. This is not the channel for that. If you think this is about putting on robes, hell, Baphomet, hell, Satan, you're spooky as hell. You might as well just tune the fuck out now, because this ain't the channel for it. The black adept is always in control. He or she, they are always in control of their universe. Everything evolves around them. That's what Egyptian left-hand path magic is about. When you cast the Hermetic circle in Egyptian, and matter of fact, there's a whole section for those that are in the online class. We go in depth in this on the next session next Saturday, but I'm going to talk a little bit about it here. When you cast the Hermetic circle, if you cast the Hermetic circle or the ancient Egyptian circle, and this is why I say I like to keep the energy in my space pure when working rituals. I don't like to do banishing. And Egyptian left-hand path practices teach you, it's not teaching you to banish energy. When it teaches you to create that Egyptian Hermetic circle, you're invoking what they call the triad of light and darkness, okay? So it's the harmony of both of those energies that the black adept needs within him or herself. You need some of the fluffy energy too, yes, no doubt. There is that healing, that lighter, that peace energy, that passiveness. That's part of the nature. That's what gets the heart chakra activated. Let me say this. I also want to remove from this path that everything is so just raw and aggressive and we don't give a fuck and blah, blah, blah. Yes, there is a time in certain scenarios for that mentality, but we also understand what real love is. See, that's the problem with motherfuckers. They don't know what real, I ain't talking about love for a person. Let me get this shit straight. Let me knock this shit out the box. I ain't talking about love for a car, love for a piece of jewelry, love for your son or daughter, love for your significant other. That's not what I'm talking about. True love, when that heart chakra is activated, and this path gets it there. And I found myself, look, I ain't afraid to say this. I found myself, I get more emotional over shit now, not in a bad way. When I see something being done wrong to children, for an example, when you feel the need for care and concern, when you see less fortunate things and it hits you here, and you get emotional about it, that's not a weakness. That means your heart chakra is open because you have the compassion, you have the concern and the care. Don't let nobody shit you. I want to eliminate that myth. This path ain't about, oh man, fuck you and fuck everybody. Do you need to take that persona on in certain situations and scenarios? Most definitely. Is it something you should be walking around doing 24/7? No. Let's be real. If all of us, because it's in our nature, it's in our blood, if we were to walk and see a kid in distress, an elderly person in distress, it's our nature to stop and help them. Be real with yourself. Now, I know we might be selective in this day and time. There's a lot of crazy shit going on. I'm not talking about being out in the middle of the night and somebody, you know, trapped on the side of the road could be a setup. You know what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, when you have that natural care and concern, that's tapping into what we call in the Eastern mysticism as divine ishq, right? That's what they call it in the Sufi circles, right? Or divine love. Don't get divine love twisted with material and physical love. See, that's where motherfuckers get it all wrong, right? We're not talking about that type of love. This path teaches you to tap into divine ishq. What do I mean? Let me give you another example of that. I notice now for many years now, how I'm more appreciative of basic things like just walking outside and seeing a blue sky. I don't want to sound fucking rainbows, Skittles, and bunnies and running. I won't make it clear, but I got to keep it real with you. It's night. Think of that feeling that's divine ishq when you walk outside. It's a nice, cool breeze, clear blue sky, sunny day. It makes you feel a certain way, right? That's divine ishq. Or seeing a sunset at the beach, or really zoning in on the sound of the waves of the water, or really tapping into the energy and the vibration and frequency of the sand running through your feet, right? That's why we do the drumming rituals on the beach, to connect with those elements, right? That's tapping into divine ishq, divine love. And it's not fluffy. It's understanding the micro and the macrocosm and how it works within you. All part of Luciferian concepts. Because as I mentioned in the last video, Luciferian magic deals with working with the elements in nature and how they correspond to you. I just mentioned the 25th. It didn't have to be done exactly on the 25th. Best if it is, because that's the shortest daylight hours of the year, especially if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. It represents that light coming out of the darkness. That light is intellect, not artificial light, not illuminated fake light. The light that we talk about, or the illumination we talk about on this path, is intellect, knowledge. But more importantly, how you apply that knowledge, which would be what? The wisdom that you get from that knowledge. If you can't apply the wisdom, it's not really enlightenment. It's artificial light. That's what religion represents. It's artificial light. Creates the illusion it's giving you enlightenment, but it's not. It's just giving you faith, belief, and dogma, which leads to mental enslavement, which if you're mentally enslaved, you're automatically physically enslaved, which leads to mind control, which leads to controlling the masses. So the powers that be that create religion have done it intentionally to keep you a mentally indoctrinated slave. Because where the mind is, the body will follow. That's a fucking common fact. Wherever your mind is, your body will follow. So if the mind ain't right, the body's following right along with it. But what happens when the mind starts to get right, the body starts to change. It starts to move in different directions. It starts to do different things. It changes its diet. It starts to exercise. It starts to make changes in their life. So you know what? I'm going to start doing things differently. That's when the real aspect of the path of self-mastery hits you. The reality kicks in. It starts to hit you. Like, bam. Now I see that motherfucking help I've been looking for. All I needed to do was look in the mirror. It was there all along. And let me say this. What I'm saying now, what I've been saying for years, or what anybody else is saying or claiming to teach is nothing new. This is nothing new. It's just you forgot. You know all this shit already. It's just because since the moment we came out of our mother's womb, we were indoctrinated by day one. By our parents too, not by their fault, because they were indoctrinated. So I want to make that clear. You're not getting anything new. This ain't no new shit here that I'm talking about. All these dudes that are on video and all these women that are on video teaching all these sciences, it's nothing new. It's just our job when we get this, it's to remind. We're all being reminded of what we already know. So when somebody's coming along with some bullshit, like I got some deep shit, dog, some new shit, you know. Now, when I'm saying that when I'm doing online private classes, am I saying it because it's deep and it's heavy? I'm saying it's a more personalized environment with instruction and growth. That's the difference of why I'm saying it. But you got some dudes that want to promote it, or some people that promote it like, oh man, if you take this class, you're just gonna fucking, dematerialize and go back into the etheric realm. The fuck out of here with that bullshit. There's nothing you're being told above and beyond that very sun, which is what, according to alchemy and metaphysics, over 93 billion years old. There's nothing you're being taught that you don't know already. Because if you are a being of light and energy, and you are a manifest in metaphysical and alchemical circles that say we are all planets or stars, right? And there is some scientific proof to that, right? We know when stars collapse, they create more stars, more suns. That is symbolic how we apply this on the cult, how we never die. We multiply colors, bitch. No, it's not. I know I'm acting like a clown. Every time I hear that, I think of Colors, the fucking song in the movie. I don't know why. It just shows you how my mind fucking operates. But you can't destroy energy. That's the whole point I'm trying to get at. All right? You can't destroy it. So you've always been here. You've always existed. And I know a lot of people say this, but I'm trying to give it to you in its raw, pure form. Not just saying it to sound heavy and spiritual. You get this confirmed in your work. You've always been here. And it's not your first time here. And that's a whole nother topic in itself. You've been here many times. That's why you get deja vu. That's why you go to certain places sometimes like, damn, I feel like I've been here before. And you ain't never been there before. You might see somebody and their face is so motherfucking familiar and you don't even know them. You don't have no history with him or her, but you're like, damn, I feel like I know this person for years. That's because you do. You're not connecting with them in the now. In your current existence, you're connecting with them in a past existence. These are all personal experiences. And I'm not telling you to accept this and no, by the way, it's not in some fucking book that I can go quote this and that. See, that's the shit you got to get out of. This is just personal experience that you need to experience for yourself. And I'm sure some of you have already had. How many of us have done this shit? And this is something that's taught in the occult, metaphysics, alchemy, past life regression. Have you ever been walking down the block? We all did this shit. Be real with yourself. You're walking, you see somebody coming, and they might be a decent distance away. You see them coming, you know they're there. You would think common sense would tell you you're going to know which way to go, right or left, right? But you ever get close and still, even though you saw them coming from a couple 100 feet away, you get close and you stop and you don't know which way to go. Some spiritualists say that's because similar energy. Now, no, that's not written in the book nowhere. No, you can't find that. So if you're looking for some historical data and you need to book check everything, no, you won't. I'm trying to teach it to you on an esoterical level. We've all experienced that, right? We've all had similar, maybe not the exact same experience. We've had something similar. So what I'm trying to, again, explain, then I'm going to go to the chat in a minute. I'm not going to stay on past 7 because I got something to do. I wanted to just shoot the shit about that for an hour. And it looks like I exceeded that by a couple of minutes. So I wanted to put that out there. I want, in short, and then I'm going to go to your questions and your comments in the chat, and I'll try to get through all of them. I want you guys to have some questions. I want you guys to, or if you don't have a question and you got something that can add to the bill, add it to the bill, because it's not just the way I'm explaining it. There's so many different perspectives on this. You guys have to have your own personal perspective on it that works for you. I want to hear about that shit. I want to know what's going on in your mind, how you feel about it. Share it with us if you feel. You don't have to. If you're one of them people that's an introvert and you don't like to really be open, then you don't have to do that shit. So anyway, what I kind of wanted to, again, people to grasp that Egyptian left-hand path practices and the concepts of Egyptian left-hand path magic and luciferianism have no time frame, no date. They go back, and again, I've always traced it. You can trace it to the pre-dynastic Egyptians. You can trace it to the 4th dynasty. A lot of these practices with Pharaoh Unus. You heard me refer to that many times. You heard me refer to Michael W. Ford's book, where he even verifies the African authenticity. If you need the African authenticity too, which we know that already. We don't even. I mean, if we still got to debate that, we know it all started there. But unfortunately, some people still want to debate that. I'm past all that. But the point being is, it has its essence and origin in those spiritual systems that go back before the word itself. The concept goes back before the word itself. So somebody says, well, let me use this example, the word Egyptian. Only reason why I use it is because what people resonate with. Well, let me tell you something. If you want to be factually correct, using the word Egypt or Kemet is completely wrong. Because if you think that those are the two correct terms for what's being called Egypt today, is Egypt or Kemet, you're completely fucking delusional. And let me explain why. First of all, a lot of people like to say they study Kemet and Kemeticism. And it's no different than saying Hermeticism in the Greek. Kemet ties you into the Hebrew Semitic language. It comes from the word Cham, right? Which is the term used for one of Noah's sons, who we know in the English as Ham. So it ties you right back into the biblical prophets. Prior to that, the ancient name of what we call Egypt today was not Kemet. It's a term that came through monotheism, mainly ancient Judaism. Okay, let's be clear on that. So if people want to fact check and you say you study Egypt, stop calling it Kemet. Let's go a step back even further. If you're saying Egypt, you're even more historically incorrect, because this is a modern term that comes from the Hyksos dynasty. It's a Greek word. It's a Greek term. So all these people that say, oh, you're using luciferianism, you're using hermeticism, you're saying this and that, Greek this, Greek that. Why the fuck are you using the word Egypt? Because what's the origin of the word Egypt? It's a Greek word from the word Egyptos, right? What does the word Egyptos mean, right? When the Indo-Aryans came into Egypt and mixed with the Africans, the ancient Nubians called them Egyptos because the sun burnt their faces. So when you're laying claim to the word Egypt, you're connecting with the Indo-Aryans that mixed in with the ancient Nubians or Africans. So if you want to get fact check on that, let's fact check motherfuckers on that. So we see its name ain't Egypt. Let's correct that shit. All right. And I only refer to Egypt because it's what people know. And I'm not caught up in all that shit. But if it's important to you, I'll go over it. Then there's Alkebulan. Yeah, the ancient name of Africa was Alkebulan. And I've already presented this, and you can't refute me. You can never show me anywhere or prove anywhere that the whole continent of Africa was called Alkebulan. Now, the northeastern region was at one point, at a certain point in time during Moorish occupation. That's dealing with a certain time. But what I'm presenting is there's no way you can show me on any historical data that the whole continent itself was called Alkebulan. All right, let's go back further. All right, you want to go back? You want to play? Look, if you know me, I could do the history thing. I don't really give a fuck to do it no more because to me it's a waste of time and energy. All right. But I'll do it if I need to. All right. So then we have the name, right? Nuba, you'll see in some ancient maps, not Nubia. Or maybe there's a difference. Nuba, you will see that. You will also see Nubia, right? And you will also see Nuban, right? This goes back during a time when we go to what we call the Neolithics, right? This deals with a time because the ancient Egyptians came from the Neolithics. The people that occupied the Nile, what we know is the Nile River, the Nile region area, and this is going back prior, before there was pyramids, Egyptian culture, and civilization that we know today. See, the other problem is motherfuckers like to connect with Egypt because it's comfortable, because Egypt promotes all those worldly, materialistic, beautiful things. Nothing wrong with that. You know, the gold, the glitz, the glamour, right? And the funny thing is you got a lot of broke motherfuckers that claiming Kemet in Egypt, and I ain't never seen a broke pharaoh, so I don't know how that works, how you can lay claim to Egypt and be a broke-ass motherfucker. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother day, a whole nother topic. That, just to throw that out there. So then you have the word Nubia, right? We know these Neolithics were the ones that migrated into what we know as Nubia, or what's called Sudan or Aswan today, right? That's where Egyptian civilization started. Dr. Ben verified this. He did videos on Nubia, and he was one of the first ones to say, look, ancient Egypt has its roots and origin in Nubia. And I've said this before, there are more pyramids in Aswan and Nubia than there are in Egypt to this very day right now. And if you've ever taken a tour of Egypt, I always tell people, take the Nile tour up in the Aswan, Sudan. They have all these different packages when you go visit Egypt, these tours. Take the tour up the Nile, up and down the Nile, so you can see. There are more pyramids in Nubia / Sudan, Aswan area than there are in what we know as Egypt today. That's because when the ancient Nubians migrated down into what we know as Egypt today, they bring a lot of that culture. How do you know that? I'll give you one quick example. The deity we all know in Egypt as Bes, that's not something that came from the last 46 dynasties. That's something the pre-dynastic Egyptians brought from Nubia, or the Nubians brought from Nubia into what we call Egypt today. He's known as the pygmy dwarf deities. Why is that? Because those ancient Neolithics tied into the pygmies, or what we know as the pygmy tribes, and that was a deity amongst the Neolithics. So I'm showing you how that was incorporated, brought into what we know as Nubia, Aswan, Sudan, and then brought into Egypt. Bes is a deity, okay, exclusively that came from, and I'm not saying this, Dr. Ben taught this, and this is where I got some of this information. All right, so this is not this is a historical fact you can look up for yourself. The ancient Nubians brought all that culture into Egypt. And the Arabs and all that shit you see now, that comes way later. Okay, now we're talking about the Arab influence of Islam. And if you've ever been to Egypt recently, don't be fooled. It's a very dirty city. They keep the pyramids like shit. Around the pyramids there is very dirty and grungy there. People have this illusion. They see it on TV and AME and the History Channel, and they think it's so, oh, I'm going to go there, and everybody's meditating and floating. Man, let me tell you something. When you take the Nile tour, you got boat bandits that come up, hustlers. Literally, while you're on the boat tour, they're trying to sell you trinkets and gifts. And literally, people are throwing the money to the boat, and they throw the gifts up. It's one big fucking hustle. Don't fool yourself like it's this everything. Like when you leave the United States and you go to Egypt, it's just pure peace and bliss. You're fooling your fucking self, because even the idiots have gotten their hands on control of some of our most sacred areas. I'm not saying there's no beautifulness to it, but it's become very commercialized. It's monetized. And as we know, the Egyptian Arabs have their control and influence on ancient Egypt. All right. That's a fact. But if we're going to do fact check, none of those were the correct names. Okay. So you could take it back to Nuba, but here's one of the ancient names you will find on these quote unquote ancient texts, such as the funerary. You will see the term tar, right? It's spelled sometimes T-A-R. You will also see it, yes, like the deity P-T-A-H. The Tarites were an ancient tribe of Neolithics that the Egyptians have their point of origin in. And that's why the deity Tar, right? When you read in the text, that he bring himself into existence. What does that mean? It says Tar brought himself into existence, right? And it deals with the molder and the fashioner, the shape of Khnum, right? It says by the fashioning or the help of the hand of Khnum, Tar brought himself into existence. Well, that represents us as adepts. It didn't mean some spooky ass shit. It means because it means before you can formulate something on the objective, you must formulate it on the subjective. It was talking about the power of the subjective. All you got to do is read the text to see that. It means that we are self-created beings. Now, the image, whether you say anthropomorphic or morphic, the terms that people use to give an imagery to something, that comes later on down the line. That's what we do with the deities. The deific mask. Let me real quick on that, and then we'll go to chat. Forgot to talk about that. The deific mask, that's one of the main purposes of why you do Egyptian left-hand path magic, because the rituals are geared to put on the mask of these deities. So the difference between what we do and what Hotepists do, see, they're still trying to worship and honor and give praise and still in a subliminal monotheistic way worship Tahuti and Osir or Osiris and Heru. But we're trying to become them. We're not trying to worship them motherfuckers. I want to become like a Heru, like a Ra, like a Set, most of all, or Satuk or Seth, whatever language you want to come from in whatever culture. Meaning, in my ritualistic work, I see through the eyes of these archetypes, and I can feel, sense, and manifest what they represent, because they all represent what? Microcosm, macrocosm. They all represent an aspect of the elements of nature and creation, right? Or they all represent a higher state of consciousness. Tahuti, the scribe, knowledge and wisdom. Set, the isolated consciousness, separation, non-conformity. Geb, Nut, they deal with all aspects of the elements of creation. The micro and the macrocosm you're seeing interjoined. Then you have the water beings, the reptilian people we talked about a little bit, the Ogdoads. They ate Ogdoads, right? And you know when you break down the Ogdoads, how that whole lineage breaks down. So you're seeing in the whole cosmic archetype of ancient Egyptian principles, the micro and the macrocosm. It's undeniable. You're seeing nature, creation. You're seeing self-deification, how that connects and manifests through you. So when we're working with the deific mask, we are trying to manifest that energy that resides deep within our psyche, and we are trying to become it and tap in it and utilize it so we can gain the results we're trying to gain. So I'm not trying to worship no motherfucking Osir or Osiris or say prayers and supplications to Heru and none of that shit. I'm trying to become what they represent. There is a difference. Make sure we're clear on that. All right. So having said that, like, again, I got to cut this at about 7. Let me go through some of your comments and questions. I hope you guys got some good ones. It looks like you do. God damn. All right. If I ain't greet you, peace, love, hair grease. All right, I see some new people I might shout out that I don't recall seeing too much. Debo89. I like that name, Debo. All right. So peace and blessings. I'll greet some of you new people. I think I've seen Jessica Moonchild before, Mandela Bourne, Trina Hurt. She's a vet. She's a vet coming up in here like a newbie. No, let me stop. All right, Trina types in, I read the book Mind Control 101 by Dantalian Jones. Help me to spot a phone. Excellent point. Fake motherfucker a mile away. Well, if you came on late in the beginning, I was talking about people. I did a video yesterday, people that fake the funk and just take credentials. They say they're a master of this and that. And I likened it to the Dr. York syndrome. Dr. York did that to his followers for many years. He just laid claim to being a master Shriner. He was over all Shriner. He claims he was a master over the ancient lodge of Cairo, Egypt. There's no record of this anywhere. You want to fact check. Nobody fucking knows him in any of them circles. Matter of fact, I checked his phony ass lodge in New York. And matter of fact, he was booted out of his lodge in New York, King Solomon Lodge in New York. And then he laid claim to being over a council he claims was out of Macon, Georgia. Fact check that. That's all bullshit. My whole point is we got to start fact checking people for their credentials. If they say a master of this, they went through a lodge, just because they put on the costume, laid claim to the title and read a few books and did a lecture and shit on it, that doesn't mean they shit. So I know Trina was typing that comment in reference to that. And that book by Dantalian Jones, I totally forgot about that. So you just brought it up. A good book. A good book to teach you how to spot the behaviors, right? And one of the behaviors I mentioned is when you question them on shit, they're the masters of the straw man tactic, diverting from the topic. I simply, when I come across, I use this as an example. If I come across a motherfucker that say they in the Rosicrucian law, what degree you on? Okay, you on a temple degree. What temple degree? What's the pass key on that degree? If you can't, and I do this in private, if you can't do that, then you're full of shit. And if you got some big, long, drawn-out stuff, well, I don't need to do that, then you're full of shit. You could just squash the whole debate by just showing and prove. So I did that last year in a video, but apparently, I run into these people here and there. So I did another video again reminding people when I'm talking about it, I'm talking about it from experience. But anyway, it's a good book to check out. Right, Smooth to God. I'm gonna put his comment. I know because it had profanity, YouTube hides it. Like you say, fuck a phony motherfucker, and that's true. And that's the only reason why I did the video, just to not have to keep going into it. Here's the proof. That's it. And that's why I said in the video, if the topic comes up again, I'm just going to refer you to the video. So now it's on public record. You can see it for yourself. End of story. That's it. All right. Peace to Prince Baba. I know you've been here before. I've been here a while. All right, what else we got? I'm looking for questions. Crystal Blue. I think your comment about, I don't know if your comment was in reference to young Pharaoh about Bobby Hemmett or Panic. Yes, Panic, we know that's he lays claim to Bobby Hemmett being his teacher. Young Pharaoh, I don't know what his connection with Bobby Hemmett was. Not sure, because I don't really follow the dude until somebody had brought these videos to my attention. But I do know in his recent videos, he's being very disrespectful and talking a lot of shit about Bobby Hemmett. So I'm not really going to speak on it because I don't know his past history with Bobby Hemmett. It can't be too long because he's a young dude. Obviously, he looks like he's in his early 20s. So I don't know. I don't know if your comment was in reference to Bobby Hemmett or Panic. I do know Panic obviously has a close relationship with Bobby Hemmett, and I'm also was very interested because Panic is not really somebody that really responds to that type of stuff, and rightfully so. But I'm curious to see how much of it will go on without him at least commenting on it, maybe on, even in his private forums or on his website or in his podcast or whatever he does. But I do know the brother Young Pharaoh was mad disrespectful in videos. And again, want to make this clear if you came in late. Everybody has a right. I didn't have a problem with the brother scrutinizing the information. Everybody has a right to do that. Everybody has a right to perceive it the way they see fit, and it's up to you to agree or disagree. That's not what I had a problem with. I don't think he needed to name call Bobby Hemmett and talk shit about him. And I don't give a fuck and fuck that motherfucker and all that. See, that's that young boy hype shit. You know what I mean? That's that young boy, I need viewers shit. That's that, I need to be a hip hop teacher. You know what I mean? Because here's the problem with some folks. I'm going to keep it real, 100. I found in my experience, and I'm not talking about people in here, motherfuckers want to be entertained. They don't really want to learn and study. So, the new young boy generation, and I like to have fun and entertain, but when it's time to get down to business, people that know me, I get down to motherfucking business. But these brothers get caught up in their hype and their own persona.
So that's that hip hop, that new school hip hop. I don't give a fuck. Fuck this, fuck that, fuck these motherfuckers. Because every other word that I do is like, fuck them. And he talks so damn fast, I can't even understand his country ass, to be honest with you. I can only stomach the videos for so long because I can't make out a word he's saying. I literally need to watch that video and see the, you know, the word with the bouncing balls, because I can't really. I'm not even trying to be funny. I can't understand half of the shit he says because he talks so fast and he's got that country accent. I'm not knocking anybody that's country. Love my country folks. Many country folks down here where I'm at, but I'm just him. He's that, like, you know, that super ghettofied country. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. So I'm not sure. Maybe you'll type something else down there. Okay, Smooth says, Bobby led me to you. Keep it 100. Cool. Cool. And like I said, there's a lot of things I agree with Bobby Hammond teaches, and there's a lot of things I don't, but I'm not going to disrespect. Look, I have the utmost, and I've had a lot of these people on the show in the past. Phil Valentine, respect him. Do not agree with everything he teaches, but you look, when people are criticizing, these are people that are doing something. May not be what 100% what you like, but I give them, at least they're out there doing something. The first thing I say to a motherfucker when they bash him, what are you doing? Let's talk about that first. Because if you ain't doing shit personally, in my book, your opinion don't count. If you ain't out there, you ain't a foot soldier, you ain't teaching, you ain't educating, you ain't doing shit to improve your life and your surroundings, I don't really give a fuck what your opinion is personally. In my book, you don't even have an opinion. So when somebody comes to you and say, yeah, man, I don't like that brother or that sister, they fucked up. Say, hold up, time out. Before you go in on a rampage on that person, what is it? What are you doing first that gives you or makes you feel like you have the right to bash that person? You'll see shit will shift real quick. Trust me when I tell you. All right. Crystal Blue. There is a lot of disinformation out there. And there is. And it could be very overwhelming. There's a lot of information out here. Some good, some bad. It's up to you as a god or a goddess to decipher what you're going to utilize and apply. If you don't resonate with it, it's just as simple as saying, I'm going to put this to the side. I don't really vibe with this. This is informing. That's it. It doesn't mean that, and I'm not saying you're saying this, Crystal, I'm just speaking in general now. It doesn't mean that we're forced to master and absorb all this, because I've said this many times. There's going to be a lot of things on this path you love, you gravitate to, that you're going to love doing work with. And there's going to be a lot of shit you just like, not really feeling it. That's the God or the goddess in you rising to the surface, because that God or goddess, that personal demon, your higher self knows what it feels the connection to. And you go by that. Those are those messages that I'm talking about. But I also talked about be careful getting caught up in what I call the exclusive club, because I see that on this path. Some people just want to be exclusively vampiric. Everything is vampirism and sexuality. Some people just want to be Luciferian. Some people just want to be necromancy. Be careful of that, because that's not the path to self-mastery. That just means you're on the path to master a certain path. That's it. Because some people don't realize subconsciously, they think that they're open and receptive to these energies, but they need to find a comfort zone where they can get comfortable. And that could be Luciferianism. That could be Egyptian left-hand path. That could be necromancy. That could be vampirism. And you're saying on the surface, oh, no, I'm open to everything. But then why are you gravitating exclusively to one or two or three particular things? On this path, we always challenge ourselves. We never get comfortable with anything. And as I said in the beginning of the video, the objective is the concepts from these paths can be applied on a multifaceted level up to you in your work. You can take elements of what these concepts represent in all these paths and apply to work. What do I mean? You could create a ritual that has vampiric elements, Luciferian elements, which are similar, Egyptian left-hand path. If you want to take Babylonian magic, if you want to take some of the ritualistic work out of the Satanic Bible, like the Book of Belial, you can incorporate that in the same working. If you know what the fuck you're doing, I'm trying to tell you. You can take Egyptian Hecker principles. So I'm trying to get people to see it's more so the concept and what the path represents, not so much having to act it out on a physical level. That's where it gets a little bit confusing and overwhelming, but you're right. There's a lot of disinformation out there. Crystal Blue, true. The spirit world doesn't distinguish between black and white. Doesn't, no. Because bottom line is this, all right? And I got to always refer to the good elder Dr. Delbert Blair. Even though he taught a lot of pro-African principles, when he was teaching about the higher sciences of spirituality, it doesn't negate the fact, it's a historical fact. We understand what ethnicity was here first. We understand the origin of this. But we also understand in this day and time, we don't really know what we're looking at. I don't care if you're looking at a Caucasian, a Latino that looks white. And that's why I always have done classes on a good way to understand who you are and your personality and your nature is to understand your DNA and blood. Literally, the blood that runs through your veins will help you understand a lot of those personality and characteristics. So, no, it has more of an effect and a blockage on people here on the physical. It only is a blockage as much as you allow it to create it. Because if you think there are no white folks that have the ability to tap into these higher sciences on some level, you're fooling yourself. Because if you don't think they're tapped into some level of magic, how you perceive it, how these motherfuckers been able to keep power for so goddamn long. So you better be careful how you approach it. Because you have a lot of these conscious people saying, we're so divine and we're this and that. But yet there's this force that came after us that's ruling the world called the white man. That don't make no damn sense to me. It's because, as I said earlier, we've lost that knowledge, regardless of who and what you are. So that's only a blockage as much as you allow and make it a blockage. As far as my clients and work, I do work with blacks, Latinos. I've had a couple of Asian clients, Caucasian people. That shit is irrelevant to me. I don't care about any of that stuff. You don't have to agree with it. If you're on a pro-black conscious path and it goes against your principles, you're entitled to that. But this may not be the spot for you. And I'm not going to preach pro-blackness or pro-whiteness. All right, because both of them to me are forms of personal hate that really don't have a place. That's just my take on it. You ain't got to agree with it. So anybody that's pro-white and is promoting white Aryanism, you got a lot of personal, hateful shit running through your veins, just as if you think you're going to sit there and blame all your problems on white people if you're a black person. We're not saying the history isn't there, but here's the thing. Do your research. You want to talk history? Were black people the first people to be enslaved? I'm going to have y'all do that research. Were black people the first people that were enslaved? I'm not going to answer that now. You guys look it up. We got to stop acting as if everybody has post-traumatic slave syndrome. And don't tell me this bullshit, oh, yeah, you know, it's connected to our DNA. That's used as a crutch. It's like a war veteran that has post-war syndrome. They have it because they actually literally experienced in real time the effects of war. All right. It don't mean it doesn't have a certain psychological effect if you open yourself up and allow it. Of course, if people are going to post pictures of motherfuckers getting lynched and hanged, of course it's going to fuck with your psyche. And I'm not saying that's real history. And I'm not saying by any means in 2019 that racism doesn't exist. It does. Okay. But what I am saying is when you allow this shit to define you and you want to become a reactionary being and you think you're going to go out in the streets and protest, you're taking yourself to an early grave because that's what they want you to do is react. Whereas on this path, we're told to be proactive because I know they can't fuck with my immediate surrounding and environment. As I said before, what do I mean? We spend more time and energy having million-man marches and gatherings and protests. Why don't we get together and scare the fuck out of them and have a million-man drumming? That would scare the living shit out of them. Do you know the effect of hundreds and thousands, not even hundreds of thousands of people drumming at the same time would alter the energy grid of this planet? When we start going back to our highest spiritual powers, working our black magic, that's what's going to change nature and that's what's going to change us. See, we're trying to fight a physical war first without going and addressing the spiritual. You can't you can't go to battle physically when you don't address the spiritual. Any great army, civilization, or culture, before even the Egyptians, it's all encoded in their history. They used to consult and activate the energy of Sekhmet because she was the war goddess. They always did some ritualistic work before they went to battle physically. And that's why to this day, their success permeates and people still refer to it in 2019. That's the difference. So we're not taught to, yeah, it's all over the news. Yeah, there's police are killing not just black folks. I told you I'll pull up the statistics. More white people get killed by police every year than black people. They just don't put it in the news. And every time it happens, they don't shoot a video of it and upload it to YouTube because it doesn't sell, because there's no agenda behind that shit. You think this stuff is new and it's increased? It hasn't. It's just with social media, cell phones, YouTube, Facebook, when it happens now, it's uploaded in real time. So you think, oh, wow, there's been such a, it's not. It's just now with all this social media platform, it gets, you see more publicity. I can reflect back as a kid in the 70s and 80s in New York, walking to the subway station. I watched them pull bodies. Police brutality was crazy back during them times. Street gangs. Police were shooting Latinos, blacks, even white kids were getting shot during them time. I watched them pull people out of dumpsters on a regular basis when you go to school in the morning. It's not that it's anything new. You think it's new because you see it every time it happens now. Somebody is making a clear intent to publicize it on some social media platform. And then everybody gets up in their feelings and emotion. Well, start first with getting your shit right. You can't help nobody if your shit is fucked up. So step one starts with you. Once you are right to the point where you're in line and in harmony with things, and when I say things, the micro and the macrocosm, then you can be a beneficial help to somebody else. How can you help somebody else if your shit is fucked up? So these fools want you. Let's take it to the streets. That's what they want you to do, is take it to the streets and riot so they can bring in martial law, come in with tanks, shoot up your neighborhoods and kill everybody. You're playing right into their motherfucking hands. You can't go to a gunfight with a butter knife. That's all I'm trying to say. So until we get locked in our mind, we need to come together and activate our higher spiritual powers. Nothing will change physically. There's still going to be police shootings. There's still going to be racism. If you want to change that stuff, work with activating your higher powers. Stop feeding the physical and being reactive all the time. Stop getting emotional over shit you ain't got no goddamn control over. That's a reality. But if you change your frequency and what you vibrate on, there's nothing they can do about it. When I say they, the powers that be that got an agenda, and that's black, white, Latino, I don't give a fuck who it is, because all these fucking con artists and deceptors, they all work together. What I keep trying to tell you, I told you all years ago in videos, when I say it's bigger than the race thing, it's a power thing. It's a money thing. There is no middle class no more. That shit is over. You either got money or you don't. This is a reality, people. It's a gentrification thing. They're making society set up where there's the wealth and the elite, and there's the motherfucking poor. And the elite and the wealthy feed and suck off of the poor. Think about it. I'm 47 fucking years old. When I was a kid, there was a such thing as not just a middle class, right? I talked about this before. You had an upper middle class, whatever the fuck that was, and you had regular middle class. Think about them days. That was somebody that had a decent house, consistent job, and their bills for the most part was paid. That was considered middle class. Now, you got motherfuckers struggling just to keep their head above water. The minimum wage in some states is comical. They want to know why people are revolting, robbing and stealing and killing, because some people can't make a living on these ridiculous ass salaries. So you got fools like Donald Trump saying, oh, yeah, look what I've done. The unemployment rate is at the lowest in the history of this country. But just because the unemployment rate is low, don't mean the quality of jobs is good. It's not changing the economical system. And I've said this before, if you want to cure most people's problems, outside, if you remove all the spookism, a good solid income cures most people's problems. I don't give a fuck who you are, how spiritual you are. If you notice, most people that are bitter, miserable, and shitty are people that ain't got no motherfucking money. Keep it real. I don't care what you think you know spiritually, how holy you think you are. The average person that's fucked up, miserable, always bitching, moaning, and complaining in a fucked up condition is because they ain't got no motherfucking money. This is a reality, people. This path teaches you that, shows you all that, how you deal with that, how you apply it. Because the first precept of an adept, a Luciferian on this path is controlling, mastering, creating your own personal hermetic circle where nobody can invade that space. You are always in control of that. I don't give a fuck what goes on in the world, in the news. If you only let it define and control you, if you allow it in that personal circle. So the adept casts the circle in it, he or she can control his personal life, those directly connected to him and her, and what goes on. And that doesn't mean that shit going on in the world doesn't affect the world as a whole. It doesn't affect you if you got your personal shit together. Okay? because I got emails about that for you. Oh, so you're saying the New World Order and Donald Trump doesn't affect you? No, it's exactly what I'm saying, motherfucker. You don't understand that because you're sucked into the sensationalism. That's why since TV and cable and social media has gone on a whole new frenzy in the last 10 to 15 years, you ever watch CNN? And don't you ever notice, and I'll do so, when it's a breaking story or news channel, don't you know they show the same cycle of shit over and over? You ever notice that? If you watch it for more than 20, 30 minutes, see, they know most people don't, that most people flip the channels, tune in and out. Watch CNN or MSN for like a half an hour, 45 minutes straight. You will see the same motherfucking stories over and over because they know by way of repetitiveness, they can stamp things in your subconscious mind. And God forbid it's a violent crime or it's a racial crime. They will flash that shit in front of the TV every 5 minutes to get that shit stamped in your head. And then you start noticing you're getting mad and you're getting motherfucking angry. Getting ready to go to a gunfight with a butter knife. That's all that shit is. All right. Okay. Just in time. I got here at the end of the Rosicrucian rant. What did you have to say about that origin? Because I'm interested. No, the good things about the run, and I talked about it also in the video that I did yesterday. One of the other reasons why I keep my Rosicrucian membership active is if you're really interested in understanding alchemy for personal transformation, the Rosicrucian order in the higher temple degrees. Now, I'm going to say this, if to Justin or anybody that might be interested in going on that path, the first level can be a little boring and redundant, but that's done intentionally to see if you're going to stay on the path. So the neophyte level can be a little bit redundant. The atrium level, it starts to get a little bit interesting, and then things really start to get into the higher sciences of alchemy on the temple degrees. So the good aspect, or if you're interested in Egyptian alchemy, because all of it is based on a lot of the, well, I'm not going to say most of it is based on a lot of the mystical teachings of ancient Egypt, like the Emerald Tablets of Tahuti, etc. So it's good for that purpose. So if you're interested in that line of study, and as I was saying, what is good about a lot of these orders, especially the Rosicrucian order, to me, it's the doorway or the gateway to the deeper, occult sciences. And I found in my travels over the years, a lot of people now that are quote unquote on this path of self-mastery or left-hand path, at one point they were either a Mason or still are, or a Rosicrucian or a member of OTO, etc. Because it seemed like it was the gateway and pushed them into other areas of exploration. That's it. So that would be my take from my personal experience. But if that is your interest, seek it out and see what happens. And that's true. Just in time when we just addressed that, black and white is only relevant on Earth. And that's correct. All right. Duma says there's a video with Brother Panic and Sure Master Gano Grills. Yeah, I saw some of those clips. And again, I was mentioning earlier, I find it very interesting now where the occult, black magic is starting to clash with the Hotepas. But I already went over that earlier. You guys can go back and watch that. So, yeah. And nice positive comment for everybody earlier by the Road Titan. I don't know if he's still here. Appreciate this, Nasus. Be back soon to take notes. Salute. Much respect for my people putting in the work. And that's true indeed. Appreciate that comment for everybody. All right, so I skipped one. Crystal Blue type in. Why do black men always have to do this? It's mainly about their egos. Well, I'm going to say it's men in general, but maybe you're noticing, maybe from your experience, it could be what your experience that, but I've noticed men in general have a I call it symbolically a little dick problem. So their ego compensates for their little dicks. It's just a saying. I'm not talking about literally. Because that's something that's, again, with the system of indoctrination, we're programmed as male and females through society, what society has established the norm, via religion, spirituality, traditions, whatever ethnicity we were raised. Some ethnicities are very old school. They're very chauvinistic, right? A lot of Latino, Arab countries, a lot of these upbringings for the men. The man is always taught like he's dominating, the woman's secondary, and there's a lot of chauvinistic principles. So from my experience and what I've seen, myself and in others, I would stem a lot of it to that. A lot of it's the way we've been indoctrinated. And even in these, what kills me, even in these comedic conscious circles now, when everybody's on this, you know, the black woman is goddess, but I still see a lot of male chauvinism in those circles, because if the black woman is God, where is all of these black female teachers? How come these brothers ain't making an extra effort to get some black women on these platforms and teach? I'm not saying there's none. There's a handful here and there. Look, somebody can contact me. Besides, I put Sister Sonia on here. I'd love to get a black female on here that can hold her weight, or a white female, or a Latino female that wants to build on this culture. I'll be more than happy to bring them on an interview and hold their own. I just don't see, one, enough of them stepping up to the plate, and that's not a knock. And two, the ones that are claiming the black woman as goddess, I don't see them making an extended effort to put them on their platform other than the redundant shit. You understand? So I think that's a large problem of why a lot of that egotistical shit exists within men. That, and again, that's my experience, and I'm sure people can connect with similar. All right. Peace, my sister Baffa Margo. What's good? I gotta give you a call. I know I ain't talked to you in a minute, but I gave you a call. It's good to see you in there, the holidays and everything. But now that that's winding down, I get back to my regular schedule. But good to see you here. Brother Doomer. Oh, yeah, sign at the TV. You can comment from earlier. AP, peace, Brother Adler. I got to give you a buzz, too. Right. And that's a good point that you bring up, Brother AP. Bobby always gave book titles, and so does Panic, and I do, too. All right? You've always seen me. If I'm using books, I give you the title. I ain't trying to run no okey doke on you, pretend like I'm not reading from a book, or pretend like I didn't get it out of a book. See, that's the game. That's because that person got an agenda too. They want to make it look like they know something that you don't know, and they so fucked up in the head, they don't want to tell you where they got it from, so they can make it look like it's some shit that they came up with. And I'm glad you point that out. And look, like I said, ain't nothing new you being taught or told. You know this shit already. You're just being reminded. I've always, in any platform I use, whether it's been internet radio, YouTube, I always give the sources of information so people can go do the research and the study. A lot of the stuff I'm talking about tonight you can find in Second Pep, the Necrominion book, which is Charles Pace's work that Michael W. Ford put out. You can find some of it in Dark Light Consciousness by Dr. Edward Bruce Bynum. I mean, I'm taking from multiple sources this evening. And I'm just showing you how you can utilize that for your work. But that's an excellent point. All right. All right. And true, from an earlier comment, I'm sure what I was talking about, Crystal says, and the B and C of that back and forth, and that's it. It just becomes back and forth rhetoric. And again, I got to quote something that Dr. Edward Bruce Bynum said. If you can't take any of that stuff you're talking about, if we're talking about ancient Egypt and we're having a debate over Egypt and the history of it, if I can't take any of that stuff in 2019 and apply it, it's useful. So the challenge is taking that knowledge and updating it in real time. That's the challenge. All right. All right. So what else we got? Crystal Blue. I brought some Hecker cards and need to know how to use them. Not sure what deck you have, but if you send me an email, I might be familiar with it. I can maybe give you a few pointers. Now I use the Egyptian stones and runes in certain work I do for myself and clients. I used to use an ancient Egyptian deck going back to the late 90s. It's actually out of print now. It just depends on how the cards are set up in the houses and the meanings and what kind of readings they have in there as far as layouts, if you use this kind of system of divination. But you can always shoot me an email. I might be familiar with the deck. All right, what else we got? Crystal Blue. I got to read this. A funny ass comment. Nature Boy is smearing his poop on trees, marking his territory. Yeah, and that was earlier. If you came in late, some things that come up in relation to that. Like I said, why keep giving this nuthead a platform? And I say a nuthead, yes, and I'm not afraid to take a stand on certain things. I don't give a fuck. You don't have to like it, agree with it. Anybody that, promotes pedophilism and advocates passing STDs to somebody and abuses women and sets up hustles to take people's money, I don't give a fuck. In my personal universe, that's the other problem in this world today. We're afraid to take a stand in a position on where we stand on things. You don't have to agree with everybody's individual stance and positioning on things, but that's my stance on that. I don't think we should even give that dude a platform. All right. Anyway. All right, so yeah, let's skip the Nature Boy shit. You're right. Chris Ward, I was talking about Macon earlier. I don't know if you're in Mactown. If you are in Macon, spent a little time there actually in the late 90s. At the time, why I was there for a couple of reasons. My older son's mother at the time had got a contract. She was in the medical field, and she got a 2-year contract. She was working at the hospital right in downtown. Not the one that's near the Macon Coliseum, the one that's in the heart of downtown. I got to trip out because at that time I had a nice ass apartment right off of 129. And this was in the late 90s. I was paying $395 per month. That was unheard of coming from New York. And I was living like Macadocious. Because if the good thing, and it's still kind of like that to this day, areas of Georgia, obviously the prices have increased a bit. If you can go to Georgia's a unique state. Now I've learned you can't go there trying to do basic shit like retail and stuff. You won't make no money. But if you go there with a skill, a trade, a profession, or a business, and you're making good money, you can live like a fucking king or a queen in the state of Georgia. And I know when I was blown away because the money we were making at the time and what our bills were, shit, we didn't know what the fuck to do. Like I said, we were paying just under $400 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, macked out apartment in a really good part of Macon. Right on the border, like when you're on 129, I don't know if you know where that new Walmart is. If anybody's ever been to Macon, well, it's not new, but it's the big Walmart there in the heart of Macon on 129. I was right up that hill over there. I had a spot in something trees, Banyan Lakes. I don't know what the fucking name of it was. I don't know if it's still called that anymore, but yeah, shouts out to Mactown. Met a lot of good people in Macon, man. All right. Justin Time says conformity and following motherfuckers is a motherfucker. And on this path, some of us fall into the trap. And that's true. I was talking about that earlier. And again, it's nothing wrong with taking advice, being pushed in the right direction from elders and teachers, but you gotta put on your big boy pants and your big girl underwears and hold your own. So yes, the objective is how do you take that information and apply it for self? That's the difference. All right. Yeah, I skipped it. Yeah, we went over the young Pharaoh, polite shit, polite. That's a whole. And I don't know if I told y'all I actually have a personal history of polite in the old Nuwapian days when he first came on the scene, but I didn't want to waste my time on that. What else we got? Yes, just in time. Let me address this. Pan-African is full of racist and broke people that eat McDonald's on the low and judge people highly. Yes. Again, not to knock. Like, some of the videos I've seen recently of Umar Johnson is comical. What's with the acting? You know, the mad black man. He's the mad, disgruntled black man. And I remember when that whole thing broke out a year or so ago with the stripper and all that. People email, I don't give a fuck about no goddamn Umar Johnson and some stripper. I'd have been all right if the brother would have just said, yeah, he slipped up. He was looking for some pussy. I'd have been cool with it. But I lost a lot of respect for the brother when he called the stripper a conscious whore, but she wasn't a conscious whore when you were sticking your dick up in her, right? She wasn't a conscious whore when you voluntarily left your hotel and went to a hotel. No white man came to your hotel and put a gun to your head and said, you need to go to that woman's hotel and have sex with that stripper. You did that on your own, brother. Own up to your shit. Take responsibility for your actions. Now, all of a sudden, he want to call his sister a conscious whore because you got busted. Now, the other thing I lost respect for, remember at that time, he was saying he was celibate. Okay? So what do I think about that? Just what you're saying there, brother. They're all frauds and phonies. You got people like Enki busted in McDonald's and then playing it off saying he only ate the fries and he was filming a video. I don't care if you eat fries at McDonald's. That's your business. I go to McDonald's once in a while. I don't need to justify that shit for somebody. Yeah, I know it's not the best food, motherfucker, but I was once in a while, I'm craving a motherfucking Big Mac and some fries. Do I eat it all the time? Absolutely not. I'm not on that religious tip because veganism has become a motherfucking religion in 2018 and 19 and beyond. All right? That's my preference. I know it's not the greatest food, but in order to be immune to some of that poison, you got to have that poison in your system. What do you think a fucking flu shot is? They inject you with the flu. That's how you become immune to it. So what if we hit survival times and you ain't eating none of that shit and you might have to find yourself eating old goddamn McDonald's hamburgers out of the trash? How the fuck are you going to eat it without getting sick and getting killed? See, they don't teach you nothing about survival. So I don't give a fuck if you're in McDonald's, fucking strippers. That's your business. But if you get busted, be a man. Be like, yo, I'm a man. I respect you. I respect you more as a man saying, you know, I was up in a hotel just chilling. I was bored. I was thinking about some pussy. There was some chick that got my attention, and I wanted to get my freak on. I'm cool with that. It's over. That's it. It's done. But now that you're caught, now you want to start, you know, degrading the sister and calling her a conscious whore and all this shit. Nah, bro, I lost respect for you. I'd have been cool if you just said, yo, you know, she was looking good. Went to the strip club. Don't make you, in my eyes, less of a man if you went and got a couple lap dances and smacked a few asses. It just shows me you're a human being. You're a motherfucking man, right? That's it. But no, now you got caught because one, now you were never celibate. You've been fucking hoes on the low. We all know you got children with multiple women, but you want to get on camera and play the angry black man. You know, I'm so angry. Where's the money for the school, bro? People want to know. You've been talking that school shit for years. That will start first. Marcus Garvey Academy. That shit kills me. I'm sorry. I'm not going to that. Shit'll make me laugh. Anyway, let's not feed into that shit. All right. The Raven. Hi. Are you going to make more videos online on La Santísima Muerte? Most definitely. Whenever it comes up, because that's a particular archetype I work with on the regular. Actually, I do consistent work with the Holy Death daily. Right when I get up in the morning, it's because of the pact. And it depends on how you work with the Holy Death, it's the pact and how you decided to approach and work with that archetype. So yes, I will. Not sure exactly when, but just always stay posted. If you know me, I bounce around on a lot of topics, and for a reason. We just did a great ritual with the Holy Death a couple of weeks ago. It was off the chain. So yes, there will be more work coming with the Holy Death. Most definitely. That's my mamacita. That's my dark goddess mother, as I refer to her. That's the master dark lady. Nobody fucks with her. All right. Okay, I'm gonna skip there. I know these comments came earlier about the Bobby Hammett, Young Pharaoh stuff, so I'm kind of gonna skip those for time's sake. All right, because I'm running out of time here. Let me see if there's anything else I can graft. Mandela born. So let's see. Mandela born. What's today's date? Wow. Today's knowledge, wisdom. Tomorrow's understanding. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding leads to true birth or born. Mandela born. Now, I know that's my boy KP. Peace, brother. Have you seen the show Chronicles of Sabrina? No, I have not as of yet, brother. It's good if you haven't seen it. I will check it out. I'll put it on my to-do list. It's way darker than the original. Okay. I have seen the originals. The Satanic Church is suing the show for using a statue of Baphomet. Get the fuck out of here. Satanic Church don't own Baphomet. How are these motherfuckers getting religious? Now they claiming they own Baphomet? Oh, man, fuck that. I'll check it out, though. Appreciate the lookout on that, right? Definitely will peep it. Yeah, I remember the original Marina Light Years. I do remember that from the 90s. I will check it out since you're saying it's different. All right, Mandela Bourne says, the real work is embracing the chaos that comes when you decide to change. Right. Because once you make the decision to change, all the shit hits you at once. It comes to the surface. All your problems, your obstructions. And here you got to be careful of. Once you start to make the effort to change, all of a sudden, people you ain't heard from start to contact you and shit. Motherfuckers you don't want in your life start coming back. Scenarios start to present itself that you really don't want nothing to do with. You got to be careful of that. So change comes in abundance. And that's why working with archetypes like Kali, like working with archetypes like the Holy Death, Set, Sekhmet, all of those, clear those paths, clear the way for that shit to come to the surface so you can address it. So that is a most definitely true statement, right? What else we got? KP Edwards, I know you're talking about the first class. Okay, after your class I took, it's been chaotic, but I embraced and looked at it, and like a change must be coming. There's much chaos. The fun part is bringing my order to it. And I'm glad, and that was the purpose of that first session. For you, not just for you, for everybody that took that first session back in the summer, that was for you to embrace that chaos. And I'm glad all your personal shit comes to the surface. It's for that. And now you could see, it's easy, like I said, to pat yourself on the back of what's great about yourself. I'm so knowledgeable. I'm so helpful. I'm great at this. I'm such a master at this, that, blah. But it's hard to look yourself in the mirror and say, wow, I suck at this. Oh, this I need to work on. Oh, I'm fucked up in this area. I got a temper problem. I got a jealousy problem. I can't keep my emotions in check. I'm a shitty mother or father. That's shit we don't want to deal with. Because in our minds, if we're parents, siblings, whatever, we all like to think we're the best at what we do. You should be striving to be the best that you do, yes. But let's be real in reality. Are you good at everything you do? Absolutely not. If you say you are, that was your first fucking mistake in lying to self, and you can't lie to self. All right? What else we got? Mandela, yeah, I remember in the class you told me about your connection living in Ethiopia. Well, just like anything else, the Arabs, that part of North Africa, the Arabs have invaded it. And what we know is modern day Ethiopia, what we know of those areas now, we're not talking about those ancient civilizations and culture. Now, even when you look at Coptic Christianity, which has its roots in Ethiopia and the Coptic Christians, they were the real source of how it was practiced in its ancient forms. And even when you go back to a lot of the ancient African systems, and I'm not talking about Rastafarianism and Selassie and all that, we're going back even further than that. A lot of it is due to the Arab invasion. Ethiopia has been Arabicized. A lot of Islam in those areas now. Okay. Okay, yeah, I'll tease out. I have done and I will continue. I do various different topics on Egypt, so I will definitely keep that in mind. Kemet, not member. That's right. Marina Light, yes. Earlier in my comment, there are more pyramids in Nubia than Egypt. And that's important for people to understand, that those that don't know. And those that do, I'm glad you know. Because that makes a big difference. Holy shit. Lost my spot. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Somewhere in this area. All right. Okay, hold on. Bear with me. I'm trying to get through it all. Okay, here we go. This is where I left off. Okay, Sister Oni checked in at 6:14 piece. Little black towel. Better late than never. You got here when you were supposed to get here, brother. All right, what else we got? Yeah, they made a pyramid into a club. That's true. Yeah, Marina Light is about when I was talking earlier about Egypt. If you've ever been to Egypt and visited and took a tour, it kind of brings a sadness to your heart. It made me look. I was disappointed, and I had gone there actually on your 12th degree, which I plan on going back in the Rosicrucian order. You have the opportunity to take that degree inside one of the pyramids, and that is my goal. I had went on a tour with them a couple of years ago, and I plan on doing my 12th degree, my final degree in the order at the pyramids in ancient Egypt. That is my goal. But when I went, I was disappointed for that, the filthiness. Like, it's become so touristy. And the people that occupy now, it's a money pit to them. They don't give a fuck about that. It's like you got all these different tour guides, take camel tours, boat tours. You got people selling trinkets and junks and gifts. It's like a big fucking, flea market and shit. A dirty ass flea market. But when you get to some of the sacred sites and you get in and you tap into some of the insides and some of the, you do tap into that energy. So you gotta make the best of it and try to disregard all that shit. But yeah, it's not all fucking what people think it's cracked up to be, what you see on TV and in videos. Yeah, no doubt. All right. What do we got on here? El Shiva second, I want to be a super Heru. Yeah, we got a lot of super Herus in the conscious community. All right. Crystal Blue. Tar is the merged god, the same as Yaldabaoth. Now, I haven't heard that in certain circles. You can synchronize it with that. Now, again, you could take any synchronization from different spiritual systems or cultures. I've always said this, as long as they represent and are working with the same energy of whatever work you're doing, it's effective. That's it. So yes, you can utilize it how you see fit. If you're talking Black Tower, if you're talking about the Nyla Tep Tar, okay, I thought you were talking about the Nyla Hotep story in what you call it, H.P. Lovecraft. But I see what you're saying now. And Isnagrab remind me of the same current deity being from what I was talking about earlier. Yes. Kay Edwards says, I'm kind of going through this quick, people, because I'm running out of time, but I want to try to get to everybody's comment, so bear with me. Mandel Bourne said, that's why I took your class, because I saw your credentials and you still say you don't have to go through it. Right. Because I went through it, I'm trying to tell people. And as I said earlier in the beginning of the video, I know it's easy for me to say you're wasting your time and your money, don't do it, because I've done it. But I'm saying that in hopes I'm trying to prevent people from spending excess money and getting ripped off and being taken to the cleaners. Now, is that going to happen in every circle? Absolutely not. And if you make the decision that you want to experience those things, power to you. You're on your own to do that. But I always have said this from day one. If I knew what I knew now, then I wouldn't have did a lot of that shit. I just didn't know. My intent, I had good intent. I wanted to learn. And I thought, that I was going to get more out of it than what was actually given, because I started to realize, shit, I know most of this shit. Or I know it's similar. I could have expounded further in those areas. But I have met great people along the way. Like I say, I have respect to all my elders and teachers. There's many people that have helped me along the way. And I've always maintained a relationship and a level of respect, male and female. I mentioned my godmother earlier. I always have the utmost respect for her, because at a time when I came to her, at a time in my life, it was not a good time. Early 2000s, it was not a good time. I was going through a lot of shit. And I know her magic, and I respect that woman's magic. I know her power because I seen it at work in me. And I know what she brought out of me. I know when I went to those many Egun gatherings, how she brought that spirit down and made it mount me, and it did wonders for me. It did shit to me that I probably at that time couldn't do for myself. So I know the power, and I will always respect those along the way that assisted me. None of us did this on our own. Don't bullshit yourself. Because whoever gave you your first book helped you out to an extent. Whoever influenced you in any shape, form, or fashion, whether you're still a part of that or now is irrelevant. When your parents or mother gave you a roof over your head, they helped you out. Because if you didn't have somewhat of a stable, normal life, you wouldn't be where you're at today. So stop. We got to stop fronting like, oh, I fucking know everything. I did it all by myself. We all had help in some shape, form, or fashion. All right. Some of us, of course, had it more rough than others, no doubt. I don't think any of us was spoon-fed and had it easy, because I fucking sure know I didn't. I grew up on welfare, the real funny money, not the fake EBT cards, the paper fucking welfare, food stamps as we used to call them, the government cheese, WIC. We made the best of it though. You understand? I can remember the first time I seen it as a kid. I used to call it funny money, because I didn't know what it was when I was a kid. I remember my mother going to the checkout counter and paying with this funny money. And I used to notice as a kid, not many other people were paying with the funny money. You understand? But anyway, point is, we've all, I'm sure, were not spoon-fed. Some of us might have had a more easier road, but that's not maybe because, they were just randomly lucky. They might have came up through a family lineage like that. All right, what else we got? All right, let's skip some of these comments. Marina Light Years, have you ever heard of Anthony Browder? I can't say right now, thinking about the name sounds familiar, not 100% sure. Now, maybe if he is an author or somebody that lectures, maybe if you send me a link or something connected, it might trigger something. The name does sound familiar, but as of right now, the time you asking me that question, I can't recall. So maybe you can send me something, and then maybe I can see if I do recollect. Black Tower, and that's why I appreciate the love. Millionaires and billionaires, that's what I'm talking about. Love that name. That's thinking big, baby. Saying that name, you're giving it that energy. That's what I'm talking about. Just that's utterance. Just saying it and hearing it and looking at it stamps it in here. I love it. And a good comment by Black Tower. I'm not my color. I am my soul, awakened, inflamed, and active. Love it. Phil Upland. I love these out. Keep it going. I am not this body, never was. Some get stuck on races. Stay on that level. You can't. You know what's fucking funny? I ain't gonna get into that. That'll open up a can of worms. We'll talk about that another time. A lot of comments. Love it. All right, what else we got? Let me see. Gotta see if I can get through this. Hold on. Thing jumped on me again. People, just bear with me. All right, here we go. Yeah, Marina Light Years. The Native Americans most accidentally, absolutely did drumming. The shamanic drumming is something I love. It's a different type of drumming. Then there's tribal drumming. To me, they carry different energies. I've been at both type of ceremonies. I'm fortunate down here, as you know, the Seminole tribe is very big down here in the Fort Lauderdale area. They own the Seminole Hard Rock Casino. Right across from it is the Seminole Reservation. They have their own village. They own the whole nine, and they hold a couple of powwows throughout the year. And I've noticed in my experience with Native American drumming, because I do work with Native American spirits, I showed a little bit of that in the Santa Muerte ritual we just did, because I connected that with the Aztec roots of Santa Muerte, which deals with a lot of the Native American spirituality and shamanism and witchcraft and shamanistic Indian magic. But I've known the shaman drumming is more soothing and healing. It's a different type of skin that they use. It's a different type of sound. It's a more hollow, dense sound, where the tribal drumming is very African in nature. It's very intense and powerful. They do, you know, in a lot of those tribal drumming rituals, they do something what they call the rain dance, which basically is creating what they call SCW, standard or column of waves. They're actually creating a certain frequency where they literally were able to change the elements, nature. They can make it rain, literally. That might sound like mythology and spookism to some people, but yeah. So there's a difference. There's different types of Native American drumming, whether you're talking about the shamans or the tribal Native American drumming. And I noticed different tribes have a different style. If you're talking about the tribes in the Midwest, out on the West Coast, or here on the East Coast, whether it's Northeast or Southeast, you can see the influence of a lot of their different traditions as far as how they incorporate the drumming. But yes, they most definitely are connected to the drumming ritual. Most definitely. All right, what else we got? Okay. All right. Sister Sonia, that's my girl. Don't fuck with her, man. She got the wrench. That's why I put her in there. She the enforcer. Don't fuck with her. All right. Almost here, people. Got to really wrap this up, running late, but I want to try to get to everybody. Philip, and they're watching too many damn YouTube videos. That was Steer Fear. Yeah, when I was talking about that some other stuff earlier. Skip some of the comments. Let me just see if there's any key questions here. Don't mean as if I'm cutting some of you short. I'm just pressed for time, so please understand that. You can maybe save some of these questions for a future class in a few days. I'll be back on Tuesday. Now, let me say this, and this is just my experience. Bun shaku, babe. I think some men say that black woman is good to appease black women with crumbs. No, I don't find that. And this has just been me. And I can only say my experience. Me from day one, and I'm going back to middle school. When I really started getting into women, I can say this, and I say this 100. In my entire life, I've only dated 2 white women. Been with a few Latino women, but just about every woman that's been in my life is from the Caribbean. And my personal preference, this is just me in reference to your comment, why I'm saying this, and I'm not trying to compare whether you're an American, black female, African, literally from the continent of Africa or from the Caribbean. I have just found my energy resonates, and I do see there's a difference of intellect. And in women in general, it could be white women too, because American white women are different than European women and from different parts of the country. I'm saying that to say I've noticed as far as the appeasing thing, I think a lot of it has to do with upbringing and the influences that the female had on, especially the black female. But I can only attest to what I've always gravitated to Caribbean women. My wife is from Jamaica. And again, not that I have an American women, but pretty much every female I've been in my life has either been from St. Croix. I keep running into St. Croix women, I don't look for it. For some reason, they just come. Trinidad, Jamaica, Dominican Republic. I've been, Dominican women are crazy. Love y'all, but y'all are crazy as fuck. I went through some psychotic shit with Dominican women. Crazy as fuck. I don't fuck with them because when they say they're crazy, I got some scars to prove that. Them motherfuckers is crazy. Half Puerto Rican, half black woman, etc. That's just, I found that if you a black female that intellect is resonating, she don't settle for crumbs. Trust me. It's a whole different energy. I found that a simple-minded or simplistic woman that does settle for crumbs, a lot of it has to do with how she's been influenced growing up. And that's just my experience. Now, I can't speak, for you as a female, because I'm not a female. And I'm sure as a female, and if you're a Black female, you probably have the experiences to speak more further on it. So I don't want to be a hypocrite and speak as a female. That wouldn't be right. So yes. But to me, it's just my opinion. And there's no disrespect to Latino women, white women, Asian women. I love women, period. But there's nothing, in my opinion, in my likes and what I gravitate, I love nothing but a brown, dark-skinned, natural female. To me, it's the most beautiful thing on the planet. I'm talking about a woman that wears hardly next to no makeup. I can't even put that in words. Just talking about it makes me want to stop. It's the most beautiful thing to me on the planet. That's just me. You don't have to agree with that. I'm sure everybody in here has their own taste. You might like mulatto women. You might like dark-skinned Latino women. You might like Cuban, whatever. That's preference. But I can tell you this, ain't nothing to me. Give me my India Aries type of females. That's type of shit I like. My wife kind of looks like her, and that's why I like it. I just always joke with her about that. And you probably guys have seen her on videos, But I'm just saying in general. To me, a lot of that is personal taste. But anyway, let's not get into all that right now. We ain't got time for that. But what else we got? El Sheba, that's why I roll with the ethers. Yeah, there you go. And that's a good comment too, Bun Chaku Babe, if I'm saying it right. Bun or Bun. I don't know if it's Bun Chaku or Bun Chaku. That's why you're supposed to realize the God in you before the Hotep games. Yeah, and you got a lot of, I call them conscious pimps. The conscious Hotep game. The Black woman is God. They all say that shit because they're trying to get in your drawers. That's all. If they keep pumping your head up with this bullshit, and then it's, hey, watch out for these Negroes when you're out walking on the streets. What's up, my queen? What's up, mother goddess? What's up, sister goddess queen? Come on, man, stop. I just want to puke. I just want to gag when I hear that shit. Why don't you just come at the sister and be like, man, you look good. I'm trying to get with you. Can I take you out? Can we go catch a movie, get something to eat? Can we just chill and kick it? That's what you really want to say. You look good. And then let the sister decide if there's any substance you got to offer her here and here. If not, then fucking let it go. Let it ride, move on. Because that's how I approach. I don't give a fuck. If I see something, I ain't with all that. Hey, what's up, my queen? Nah, fuck all that. Just like, look, I'm trying to conversate with you. Let me see what's up here. Let's talk about that first. Because I know you got it here. That's not the issue. Here is here. But sometimes I can get turned off. You talking to dumbass fucking people is a turn off. You know how many times we've all had this experience, male or female? You've been in a club, a party, or at a gathering. You see somebody, and man, they got everything physical resonates. And then you talk to them, and they start the biggest mistake they made is they started talking and opening up their mouth. And you were like, God damn, hell to the no. So that's life. What else we got? All right, Crystal Blue, I will look for your email. T South says that as a woman from your earlier comment. Okay. Mandy, I did get your text. After I get off, I'm going to eat. I will give you a call. I know you should give you a quick call in a minute. Just bear with me. I will get to you in a little bit. I did get your text. I saw it before I came on. All right. Yeah, and I told you, like I said, I know Mandy, Mama Muerte, and her husband. Starting to get to know them well. They actually were at my house around Christmas time. We get to meet the kids and everything. Nice families you got. Yeah, the Umar comments. I was about the Umar shit last week. Yeah, like Phil, but fast food. Look, I don't eat it all the time, but look, man, I don't once in a while. Look, see, the problem with some of us is we were raised up on some American concepts. Yeah, we can get into the right and wrong, the value of it, this and that. But look, let's stop fronting like we're ancient fucking Egyptian Africans and shit. Look, we all front once in a while. I love, like, look, every time I go back to New York, I'm sorry. First place I got to go is White Castle. I don't give a fuck. I mean, I grew up, me and the crew, we used to live in that place when we were kids in high school. We used to hang out on the weekends. White Castle was the spot. Literally, when I tell you, when I get off to JFK, I hop on the train, take it right to my house. Right when I come off at my train stop, I walk right down off the platform to the train. Boom, there's White Castle right there staring me in the face. I walk in that motherfucker with my bag and everything. First place I got to go when I go back to New York is White Castle. And I go, you know, even though I left in 2013, I go at least 2-3 times a year, sometimes more. And it's fucking crazy because I'm getting off the plane lands in JFK, getting ready to go to the metro rail, to the subway, and I'm thinking about that White Castle. And it's a ritual in itself. And as I get closer to White Castle, I start thinking about holding the burger, feeling the soft, fluffiness of the steamed onions. Yeah, you shouldn't eat that shit. I don't eat it all the motherfucking time, but when I'm there, I have White Castle at least 2 times when I'm in New York. And usually every time I go, I'm there for about a week or so. So I got to hit it twice. Last time I was there, I told Oni, right when I got there, because I was linking up with her to do some stuff, and I called her. I called her when I was in the White Castle. I was like, guess where I'm at? She'd start laughing. I'm in white motherfucker. I got to eat it. Love that shit. Fuck that. All right, anyway, what else we got? Appreciate the super chat donation, Margarita Sage. Appreciate it. Just so you know, I don't really ask people for it. There is a super chat. If you see that $sign at the bottom of the chat, you can make a donation. It's not mandatory. I ain't asking nobody for shit, but you can. You can do $1, $2, whatever. What else we got? Hella a Formulaic show, Sabrina. Yeah, I got to check it out. I will check it out, people. All right. Your boy Melon guy. What should I do with my brother? He's mean to me. Give him a fucking mean ass wedgie. Kick his ass. That's what I used to do to my little siblings. Brother Beniti, I was guided you back in 2016. I've learned a lot from you, and you confirm things that I already knew experience. Thanks. Well, I appreciate it, Phil, and I appreciate your input. And I know you frequently send me emails of certain things you come across. I appreciate that. Even though I may not respond back to all of them, I do appreciate it. All right. Yes, Crystal Blue, I am in Fort Lauderdale, so when you're in the area, you could definitely hit me up. Caribbean men get away with murder, half Caribbean women. Yeah, that's man, old school. Some of them old school Jamaicans, man. That's a whole other story for another time. Okay, yeah. Now that you say that, Marina Light Years, yes, Anthony Browder. I am. Now that you say that, now it's ringing a bell when you say in reference to the Nubian Pharaoh's tomb. I have seen that video. I knew it when I saw it earlier. The name sounded familiar, but I just couldn't place it to what. So yes, I would definitely. I'm not sure. I'll check that link. Not sure if that's the same one that I had seen. All right, what else we got? Oh no! You just came in out. The India area comment. I know you just came in, Dr. No, I was saying I was talking about. We were talking about. One of the sisters had brought up a comment about the black woman, and I was just saying I was talking about what I've dealt with, my preferences and shit. My wife kind of looks like that. That's something who I always correlated her to. I used to joke with her about that, and I was just talking about using her as an example of beauty. India Ari, to me, she's probably one of the most, in my eyes, one of the most beautiful sisters in the entertainment industry. You know, I used to love Jennifer Hudson, but she got a little bit bougie. You know, the old Jennifer Hudson, the old Thickums Jennifer Hudson. You know, and now she's trying to go that old bougie route now. But I was referring to India Ari as I was using her as an example in my eyes of true beauty. Yeah, people don't have to agree with that. That's me. All right. And the fact of the matter is, it's preference. That's all I was referring to. So I know you came in on the tail end. All right. What else we got? Almost here at the end. I see. Good. Okay. What else we got? Yeah, I know, man. I know, Mom. I'm ready on my time. All right. I think this is the end. I got to the end. I might have skipped some of you. I might have skipped some. I couldn't get to everybody. I think I got to most of the main meat of it. I apologize. I am on a time schedule. I really was trying to cut this at 7. All right. That's going to wrap it up for this time. So, again, appreciate everybody tuning in. For any of the stuff I mentioned, for spiritual readings, consultations, etc., for the online classes, for the upcoming ritual on January 25th, feel free to hit me up, send me an email. The flyer will go out probably tomorrow or the next day. If you would like the flyer or to request an invite, just send me or email, and I'll get that information out to you. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I think, I'm not sure, something that crossed my mind. I'm thinking about doing a topic on the occult breakdown of the 120 degrees, the 5% lessons. I know that might stir a little controversy because that was my foundation, but thinking about doing 2 parts. I haven't made my decision, just throwing it out there, the 1 to 60 and the first one 61 to 120. We'll see. It's crossing my mind. But I'm thinking about going through each degree, the 12 jewels, some of the plus degrees, but from an occult perspective. And I'll make it clear, I'm not, and I have the utmost respect for the NGE because that was my original foundation from back in the days. But, I don't necessarily look at it the same way. But anyway, I appreciate it. Appreciate all the love and support, and I'll talk to you people soon. Enjoy the rest of your day. Oh, and like I said in yesterday's video, if you're going out for the new year, if you're going to go out, hang out, party, be safe, please. If you're going to drink and get your party on, nothing wrong with that. Please be safe. There's a lot of fucking nutheads out there, and I don't want to sound preachy and like I'm like your parent. All right. I want, have responsible drivers with you. If you're going to go out and party and dance, I know that some of us might just be staying home chilling. I stay home and chill. I don't like to be out there with all that madness. But if you are a person that's going to be out and about, please be cautious of your surroundings. If you're going out with people, look out for each other. If you're going to drink and smoke responsibly. Get home safe and enjoy your New Year's, all right? So peace, love, and hair grease, and we'll talk soon. All right? Peace.